depending on the road type. In cities, the limit is 50 km per hour, increasing to 80 km per hour on highways and 100 km per hour on expressways. Before hitting the road, seat belts are mandatory for both drivers and front seat passengers. Also, all traffic signs, signals, and road markings must be obeyed. Drivers must remember that using a mobile phone while driving is a punishable offense unless assisted by a hands-free device. Drunk driving is illegal, with penalties ranging from fines and license suspension to imprisonment. For passengers, wearing seatbelts is essential, and distracting the driver should be avoided at all costs. In public transport, any reckless driving should be reported to the authorities, and pedestrians, on the other hand, must also cross at designated pedestrian crossings, zebra crossings, or pedestrian bridges where available. They should follow pedestrian traffic lights and only cross when the signal indicates it is safe. Looking left, right, and left again before stepping onto the road is crucial and should avoid running while crossing. Making eye contact with approaching vehicles ensures they see you before you proceed. By following traffic regulations, road users can prevent accidents, protect lives, and contribute to smoother transportation for everyone. Grace Komolafe, Sook News Television.
The unexpected rise of Ankara fabric in West Africa has transformed it from merely an industry into a vital part of culture, identity, and art woven into everyday life. This evolution has encouraged many to enter into the business side of Ankara. Today, the fabric is not only worn, but also used in interior decorations and artworks, making it a significant item in our changing world. Despite this, the industry stands at a crossroad, balancing tradition, modern challenges, and global market demands. My name is Grace Komolafe, and I invite you to join me on this second episode of Ankara as we explore the current state of production, the hurdles it faces, particularly in Nigeria, and the abundant opportunities that exist within this vibrant sector. Ankara's journey from West African markets to the global stage highlights its enduring appeal and the resilience of its producers. However, to fully harness its export potential, addressing quality, policy, and logistical challenges is essential. Ankara has become a global fashion statement with its bold patterns and rich colors now staples on international runways, reflecting a growing appreciation for African aesthetics. Nigeria and Ghana have long anchored Ankara production, keeping alive an industry with deep cultural significance. In Nigeria, there is a specialized market where you can find all kinds of Ankara fabric to suit your needs, whether for business parties or home use. Are you aware that Oshodi Market in Lagos is the major Ankara market in the country? People travel from every part of Nigeria to this market to make purchases for different reasons, either for Ashwebi, different occasions, or for business. In this market, you would find importers, you would find wholesalers, and again you would find retailers. Are you thinking of going into Ankara business? In this report, we have more information to share with you.
No, this one is a different company.
Despite Nigeria's rich resources, skilled workforce, and a large domestic market eager for Ankara fabric, the country has struggled to capitalize on this potential. In the face of rising imports and global competition, the Ankara industry is looking inward towards alternatives that preserve cultural heritage while empowering local economies. Innovative approaches and traditional methods are revitalizing Ankara production across West Africa, particularly in Nigeria. While the future is bright, it is not without challenges. The high reliance on cheaper imports has led to an overwhelming dependence on foreign textiles, which now dominates over 80% of Nigeria's fabric market. How have Ankara sellers and business owners been able to sustain growth in the industry?
What kind of Ankara do you sell? Big or small?
We sell big, small, and medium range.
Great. I think this is the first person I'm meeting that sells 3 categories of Ankara. I actually met people that does medium and small. I met someone that does just the small. So good to know that you are doing 3 categories, big, medium, and small. So why did you decide to go into a full-blown Ankara business?
Because any customer can walk in now and request for small one. I will attend to the person. If you want medium, I have. If you want big one, I have.
You don't want to lose anybody.
I don't want to lose anybody.
You like money.
I'm people man now. I suppose like money very well.
When someone is alive, where you going to be saying. So for now, things are so high. When I'm still learning this business to my master, that time it was 700 or 600 like that. So things started increasing every day. So that is the problem we have. The customers are complaining. This are complaining. Both people that are coming from far journey saying that after this, there's no much gain on it again. So that's the challenge we have.
Long before Ankara became a global phenomenon, West African textiles were celebrated for their craftsmanship and cultural significance, with Nigeria being a key player. Today, Nigeria's textile industry has faced significant challenges over the past few decades, despite the country's rich potential in cotton production and a historical legacy of vibrant textile manufacturing. Once a leader in the sector with over 180 textile mills in the 1970s employing more than 1 million Nigerians, the industry has been in decline since the 1990s, grappling with issues such as smuggling, high production costs, outdated machinery, and inconsistent government policies. Instead of boosting the Nigerian textile industry, interest in importation continues to rise. With a renewed interest in textiles, including Ankara fabric, local production remains low. An influx of cheap imports surged over 100% to 365.5 billion naira in 2022, undermining the demand for locally produced textiles. As Nigeria strives to engage in the business, the high cost of importation negatively impacts their efforts. The situation is compounded by rising energy costs and a depreciation in currency, leading Nigerians to depend largely on imported Ankara to meet the demands of customers.
Importation business now is a hell. It's very, very expensive. Just last month, the clearing of the goods was about 6 million naira. Overnight, it turned to 14 million. Should we stop selling Ankara? No. We have to go on, move. The price that we give customer, in 1 hour, it changed automatically. But because we are into the system, we know how to manage the price.
As customers become more conscious of their environmental and social impact, the demand for sustainable and ethically produced textiles is on the rise. Ankara, with its deep cultural roots, is uniquely positioned to lead the way in this movement. The global market for Ankara is expanding, with new opportunities emerging beyond West Africa. However, tapping into these markets requires strategic planning, quality assurance, and effective marketing.
Actually, like, the person wants to do the business, it depends if you have the money, because this business now is it's all about money.
Capital intensive.
Capital. No amount of money that is enough. No amount of money. If you have 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, you can start up something, because when you check this one now, this nylon now, but one nylon now is almost 48,000 or 37,000. So when you now calculate one line, two line, three line, so you can see that it's millions of money. So if you want to go into the business, if you have the cash or you have the power, it's a nice business, but you must have money to rotate the business.
Ankara business is not a child's play, I want to say, with what I've heard today. You want to go into Ankara business, of course you can start a very small scale. Do not say no to small beginning, do not despise little beginning, but I must say if you want to do a big time Ankara business, it's not a child's play, you must be ready for it, I tell you. So for instance, you have this line, like I mentioned earlier, you'll be having this pack, this pack goes for about 40-something thousand, and you're having a couple of them. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now then you keep counting. Did you see? Same colors, and we're having different designs. It's not a child's play. Millions of naira goes into this business, and you can see this is Oshodi, where Ankara business takes place, the real business. This is where it happens. Yes, from all over the states in Nigeria, they come all the way to Oshodi to do their biddings in Ankara business.
The Ankara industry, a cornerstone of West African culture and economy, is deeply influenced by government policies. Yet, the implementation of these policies is not without its challenges. Bureaucratic delays, corruption, and inconsistent enforcement often undermine their effectiveness. The success of the Ankara industry is intertwined with the government's actions. Thoughtful policies and effective implementation can drive growth. Moreover, regional and international trade agreements such as the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA offer new opportunities for expansion and collaboration. The future of Ankara lies in the hands of the next generation. Young innovators are reimagining what Ankara can be, blending tradition with modernity and driving the industry forward. Is more than just a fabric. It symbolizes African heritage, creativity, and resilience. As we look to the future, the potential for Ankara is limitless if the industry embraces innovation, sustainability, and global collaboration. The journey of Ankara is far from over, and its story will continue to inspire generations. Conclude our journey through the vibrant world of Ankara, we turn our attention to the future. What lies ahead for this iconic fabric? How will it evolve to meet the demands of a rapidly changing world? And what opportunities and challenges will shape its future? Questions you may have quality answers for. See you again on another interesting topic on Souk Perspective. I am Grace Komolafe.
Emeke talks about black gold, he isn't referring to oil. He buys it in sacks, not barrels. He sells it from a metal shack to customers in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Charcoal is big business in Africa. He says there's enough money in the charcoal trade to make the wealthy envious in several African countries. Charcoal has fueled Africa's urbanization. It is energy dense and difficult to regulate, much like the cities it powers. Despite concerns about pollution, deforestation, and illicit money flows, charcoal remains indispensable. In this special report, written by Bayo Olaoye, he explored the value of Africa's charcoal economy, estimated to be worth billions of dollars, and assesses its viability. Nearly 200 million Africans cook primarily with charcoal, including 27% of urban dwellers. That share has grown since 1960, replacing much of its previous reliance on firewood. If there's been an African energy transition, it has been from one type of wood fuel to another. Charcoal's appeal lies in its convenience. By weight, it contains nearly twice as much energy as the wood it's derived from, making it easier to transport and ideal for megacities with fragile infrastructure. In Kinshasa, a Congolese metropolis of 18 million people, almost everyone cooks with it. Never before have cities grown so large while relying so heavily on wood-based fuel. In rural Africa, tens of millions of people make charcoal using earth kilns, outnumbering the world's coal miners. The process involves heating wood under low oxygen conditions to remove moisture and volatile gases. Logs and branches are stacked in a pile, covered with grass and soil, and burned for several days. This yields 1 to 2 tons of charcoal from 10 tons of dry wood. The process emits more carbon than simply burning the wood. Much of the raw wood is free, harvested from farmers' own land or from forests. Many charcoal producers are farmers selling to traders when in need of cash. Others are entrepreneurs who bring in work teams, distribute chainsaws, and pay off landowners or local chiefs. Locals often complain about outsiders cutting down their trees. In Kenya and Uganda, vigilantes have even attacked charcoal trucks. Africa's charcoal trade is estimated to be worth tens of billions of dollars, possibly more than the continent earns from cocoa or coffee. The money trail often leads to soldiers or government officials. The United Nations Security Council banned charcoal exports from Somalia because jihadists were earning millions by exporting it to the Gulf, where shisha smokers prize the aroma of acacia wood. Charcoal production leaves destruction in its wake. In Mozambique's Mabalane district, 2/3 of the woodland was affected by charcoal harvesting in the decade leading to 2018, according to one study. To mitigate the damage, governments oscillate between legalizing the trade through licensing and forest management and banning it outright. Sudden bans, however, often fuel a black market. Enforcement becomes a chaotic negotiation involving traders, officials, police, soldiers, and local communities. Lorry drivers move at night.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy, see something. This is Suit Business Landscape.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Suit Business Landscape. We are reaching you live from our studios in the commercial city of Lagos. I am Oyin Priye Krumale, just the way our forte is in business, economy and development. That is our focus, business, economy and development. explaining how decisions in Abuja, Washington, London, or Beijing ripple through Lagos, Port Harcourt, Nairobi, and Johannesburg. Our program draws insight from data, expert commentary, and the institutional report, just where we'll be looking at the World Bank's report today to unpack the week's biggest economic stories and what they mean for industries, jobs, and households. On this program, we believe that economic literacy is a national power, and by decoding the numbers, questioning the narratives, and spotlighting innovation and resilience across sectors will help viewers see the full picture of Africa's evolving business environment, where every policy, partnerships, and price movement tells a bigger story about growth, governance, and opportunity. Good morning to you once again, and welcome to the penultimate day of the week. Good morning to you, Swift.
Hi, good morning, Priye. How you doing?
I'm okay.
You're looking very sharp. I like the outfit.
Oh, you're looking elegant.
That is my friend. We're almost matching colors. And there's a coffee brown in the building.
Yes, it is.
All right. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, world. Welcome to Soup Business Landscape. And we promise you, we're going to give you an amazing show where we analyze and we dissect issues that affect Nigeria, Africa, and transform and innovate the world. Get ready for it.
Exactly. Now, first of all, our first story will be on the World Bank's Nigeria report and development update, and the report about 139 million people in poverty in 2025. The presidency publicly disputes that figure as exaggerated and not reflective of domestic indicators. And secondly, it was still based on the World Bank, where it says that Africa's polls, Nigeria is unlikely to reach the single-digit inflation figure in the near term and will remain one of a handful of African countries with a double-digit inflation through 2025 because of the currency pressures, food and energy cost dynamics, and structural supply constraints. Then we is still based on locally here in Lagos. The Lagos State and Bank of Industry launched a Safety First campaign and an occupational safety cadre to raise workplace safety standards among small and medium-sized enterprises and institutionalize occupation safety in the state civil service. Then we will take a ride to the total pension industry, where the pension assets under the pension fund administrators grew modestly month on month to about 25.895 trillion naira in the month of August this year, 2025, through though some active funds, that's Fund 1 and Fund 2, recorded declines. Then after that story, we will take you to another one where 11 states have abolished the ROW, road fees, and the right of ways that telecom operators pay to lay fiber, a move designed to reduce deployment costs and accelerate broadband rollout toward national targets. We will also move to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, which signaled a willingness to discuss regulated cannabis, all medical industries uses, while remaining cautious about the local consumption, opening the door to policy conversations and medical cannabis and export opportunities. Then we will take you to Switzerland, extend partial unemployment benefit from 18 to 24 months to shield workers and firms from the impact of higher U.S. tariffs that affected Swiss exporters, watchmakers, and how Google is offering eligible university students in Nigeria and 5 other African countries free time limited access to premium AI tools, and on concerning that story. Then between October 7th and December 9, 2025. And finally, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is pushing for quick enactment of the India-UK trade agreement to unlock tariff cuts and business opportunities following July, signaling many more things that will be unfolding in the story. You know what? We're going to break. When we come back, we'll jump into our conversation for today. Do stay with us.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Literacy said is going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market? buying to keep for their store.
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souk business landscape.
From Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, Souk News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to Souk News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines. From breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At Souk News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. Souk News TV, powered by FemWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. Souk News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their store?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souk business landscape.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Now, let's begin with our first story. Presidency rejects World Bank's claim of 139 million Nigerians living in poverty. It has dismissed the World Bank's recent report estimating that 139 million Nigerians are living in poverty, calling the figure exaggerated and inconsistent with the nation's current economic condition. The report by the global lender had raised concerns about rising hardship despite government reforms. Reacting on Wednesday, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's special advisor on media and public communications, Sunday Dare, described the statistics as unrealistic and detached from Nigeria's realities. He argued that such assessments often overlook local economic indicators and government interventions aimed at improving livelihoods. Dare further stressed that poverty figures must be properly contextualized within the framework of global measurement models, which may not be accurately reflecting Nigeria's socio-economic diversity. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to ongoing economic reforms designed to reduce poverty and stimulate inclusive growth. Quite a back and forth. I was looking at Sunday Dare's comment on one of the dailies, and I saw part of his perspective for the argument why the position of the global lender cannot be seen as one that reflects the economic realities in Nigeria, and how their models of measurement might not be putting a lot of economic indices into consideration. And he extensively mentioned some of the economic reforms that the government had taken. He also mentioned the strata of the economy, most especially the informal sector and the subsistence economic activities that he said contribute immensely to development and to buoying the Nigerian economy, which the World Bank did not put into consideration. And in one aspect, I tend to reason with him, and in the other aspect, I tend to reason with the World Bank. But one thing that is in contention here is the number of people that the World Bank has given, 139 million Nigerians living in poverty. Yes.
Now, the funny thing is, there's a basic question which I like what the Nigerian government is finally doing, which I like what Africa needs to embrace. Who made World Bank an authority? Weeks ago, we had the same argument when a particular...
The world made World Bank an authority.
I'm coming. Where an international body claimed that the Nigerian life expectancy rate is at 55.
Okay.
And then I went and I told somebody that, look, I'm on a group with over 300 people who we've gone to school together and we grew up together. And the age range is between 60 and 40 in that group. And we have not lost anybody. So if you are telling me that the statistics in Nigeria right now is 55, it means that on that group, we should have lost about 150 people. So if from a small group, I know, it's like when they were bringing out COVID statistics and we started to argue, how many people in Obalende have died? How many people in Ikoyi died? How many people in Ikorodu market? At least we know that during the COVID, people in Ikorodu market did not stick to COVID. They were all out there, they were selling, they were all over the place, at least, while some other areas were quiet. So who made World Bank an authority? Where did they get their statistics from? Nobody interviewed me. Nobody went on the streets in Shogule, where I live in Oshodi. I didn't see anybody with data, with statistics. So where is their statistics coming from? The same World Bank has been praising the Nigerian government that they have been going in the right direction when it comes to economic reforms. They have said that the economic reforms they are doing, they are seeing it in the economy and how it's pushing forth. For a while, we haven't taken any loans. The federal government is just trying to take a loan, which Nigerians are upset about. And suddenly, World Bank is pushing the narrative now that 139 million people are living below poverty rate. I just think it is biased. I think it's not healthy, and it's right for the federal government to come out because we are seeing a lot of international firms want to partner with us. Now, a lot of international firms partner with you when the kind of information that is coming out of the country is effective and is healthy. With this kind of information from World Bank, there are some other international agencies who are already writing it in the works but have not approached the Nigerian government yet. That will start to pull back and will start to reanalyze and re-strategize and start to ask themselves, why are we coming into Nigeria? And this is a challenge for us. So this is one of the reasons why the federal government, their PR person had to tackle it. Is it good that this is coming out? Yes, it's good because a lot of people can reflect. Unfortunately, the Pengassin strike has not helped for just the Pengassin 3-day strike. And we are seeing a lot of Nigerians complain about hardship because I was driving past a fuel queue where there was a fuel station where they were selling gas, and the crowd of people that were queuing for gas, of course, if you go interview those people, they will be telling you how horrible the country is. But thank God a lot of Nigerians now know that this is not 100% the federal government's fault. This is a fault of a group of people who seem too strong and just want to frustrate Nigerians and push them away. Coming back to this, why is World Bank doing this at this time when this is the time that we are looking at the peak of investment and all that? I think World Bank needs to be checked. I think we need to sit and tell them, look, you are not an authority in Nigeria. If you cannot give us where your data is coming from, where your statistics is coming from, and our own people analyze it, then you should go to bed on this one.
Okay,
that's my take. I may be wrong, but that's my take.
So first of all, the World Bank is a global lender. It's a multilateral. Just a moment. Yes. The World Bank is a global lender. It's a multilateral financial institutions that lends money to Nigeria, and at a specific point in time in our Fourth Republic, when Olusegun Obasanjo came as the president, I'm sure we as a country also secured debt relief from the World Bank. And not just that, as a global lender, it also works with data and statistics, and I believe there are other private organizations who carry out this research and development across Nigeria, not only Nigeria, across other African
there is
countries.
A school of thought
now,
who has claimed
just
that.
a moment.
Yes, wait.
So no, just a moment. I am not lecturing.
What the World Bank is.
Oh no, we are not lecturing. We are having a conversation. Okay. So just a moment.
Okay.
So if the World Bank has come up to do that, of course, the Nigerian government, it will be in its right state to come out to debunk it and to also present a structural argument, just the way Sunday Dare came out to say that the PPP, this is not the public-private partnership, but the purchasing power parity, which they think that the World Bank has used as a method to measure Nigeria's purchasing power and looking at 2017, 2018, 2019, and to base their calculation on that, did not actually put into consideration other factors. I think that's also a tenable argument coming from the communications.
Yes.
But before we continue, let me introduce our other colleague into this conversation, and let's hear from him. He's Ayanuba Olubenga Paul. Good morning to you and welcome to Suit Business Landscape, Paul.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me on the show. I do apologize for the darkness. It's they just took lights now, but we'll be back in less than 30 seconds. We are switching to the generator. But the topic you are speaking to is a very critical topic. And the question we should ask the government spokesperson is not about whether World Bank is right or World Bank is wrong. I understand where Swift is going to, and I understand that sometimes we need to question the logic behind some of these analyses by these international agencies, because all the analysis that they do, they are all giving it with an agenda in mind. And that agenda, does it speak to our national needs, or is it about just trying to disparage the Nigerian government so that they can be able to meet their own needs? So, but while having asked that, that Swift did, we must also ask the government, why is it that when all these international agencies give good and positive reports about you, you are quick to applaud them, to use their statistics as yardstick for measurement of your development stride? Why is it that you only want to take praises and not criticism? That is the question we should ask the government. And as to where World Bank is getting their statistics from, I can tell you for free that they are getting it from Nigeria, they are getting it from Nigerians. Not just World Bank, IMF, many of those international organizations have multi-level infrastructures and strata for information gathering in the country. They gather even information that our government has not been able to gather. For example, I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I came across a data. It was not a public data, but it's about diabetes prevalence in Nigeria. And I looked at the data set and saw that these guys went villages to villages. All the 8,908 political wards in the country were covered. All the villages because in some of the political wards, there are 2, 3, 4 villages. They were covered. They were duly represented in that data set. So the fact that some of us do not have access to this data does not mean that they are manufacturing data out of the air. Every time they pay university professors, they pay even final year students and master's degree students to do projects relating to research of interest for them. And some of these form the background for data. I remember it was early this year or middle this year. A friend of mine was trying to do his PhD thesis, and part of the thing he needed to do, because his course relates to transport management and things like that, he had to go to different locations and also pay other people to go to different major expressways across the nation to count the frequency of vehicular participants, to count what type of vehicle passes and what is the frequency of such vehicle. And he had people in more than 40 locations in the southwest to cover that in major expressways. So that person cannot bring out his finding and then we say where is he getting his information from. While they are doing the information gathering, they won't shout to the world. But once the information are gathered, they will clean the data and then derive whatever information or knowledge that they want to derive from the data set. And for every development that the world has enjoyed, it is people who have gathered data like that and are not shying away, even when the data is not pleasing for their narrative. Rather than shying away, they are looking at finding solutions to the issue. So for me, I don't think we should query World Bank and say where are they getting their data from. I agree that yes, they might have an agenda either to force our hand to take loans from them, or because World Bank is not happy that we are taking loans from Chinese, because the Western axis of power control the World Bank, and Chinese is like a pain in the behind for them. So all of these factors might be part of their agenda, which I quite agree with Swift on. But at the same time, if you go to the street and you check, you don't use Lagos condition to check. I traveled across the country a whole lot because I'm an MC during the weekend. And so I go to MC events all over the country. And when I go like that, I always like, to go to all the, what we call in local parlance, the lungus, where not the posh area. I want to see things for myself because I'm a curious cat. And with what you see there, I don't think World Bank is lying, because what is the yardstick for their standard of below poverty line? They are saying if you are not making $2 a day, if you can't spend $2 a day, and $2 per day is it $5?
$2.5.
No, let's even put it. Oh, $2.5. God bless you. So if you put $2.5, that's 3,750 naira. I can tell you, if you break down the salary of many civil servants who are earning the minimum wage, I don't think it is up to 3,750 per day. Multiply by, 3,750 times 10 days is 37,500. So 37,500, 37,500, that's 74,000. That's 75,000. How many states pay the minimum wage of 75,000? How many states? So if you look at it from that perspective, and then you try to understand the fact that those are the ones who even have a regular job, a regular pay at the end of the day. What about those who do daily menial jobs, who don't make in profit up to 3,750 per day? And even when they do make 3,750, factor in cost of transportation feeding in a day, and you see that they are living really below poverty line.
Bega, can I ask a question? So the first thing I talked about was I asked about data and statistics. I had the privilege of being in the university, and even when I was done with the university, I know how many people brought data to us and how we filled some of these data forms. I know that most of the data filling is faulty, and I can sit and stand on that. And you too, you do a lot of data accumulation.
Right.
You know that some of these data figures are tampered with. You cannot say 139 million people in Nigeria are living below the poverty rate. There was something you said about you traveling. I do agree with you. Do you know that the standard of living in Lagos is almost cheaper than almost every town? For example, the cup of egusi you buy in Lagos for 500 is sold 600 in Benin. In the East, it's sold 700 to 800. So it means that people in Lagos are even enjoying a bit more. People in AfCFTA even complain that the cost of food is more expensive than in Lagos. So when you are looking at standards, that means that people in Lagos even seem to be doing better than people in AfCFTA and Benin. My argument about this is, are some of the statistics right? Yes, but the number is too staggering and it doesn't correlate with what we see on the streets. That's my argument.
Okay, so let me quickly answer that.
Yes.
139 million, we don't have we don't have a proper population census figure. So we are working with 250 to 300 million.
Yes.
Abi? And 139 million is about 45% to 47% of the total population set. So if that is the figure, I bet you agree with them that they are actually correct. Because if they say 45 to 47 or even 50% of Nigerians are living below poverty line, yes, when they go like 65, 70, that's when I will question them. But if you look at that number and you relate it to our figure, I mean, you have already cleared it. You said Lagos is enjoying better living standard, and so you cannot use that living standard of Lagos to compare. A lot of people are suffering, like you have rightly quoted Benin, like you have rightly quoted other parts of the eastern part of this country. And if you look at those ones where they still make a lot of money, you know, they work hard, they make a lot of money. Go to places like Taraba, go to places like Benue. Even Benue is still good when it comes to food and all the rest, if not for this banditry and whatnot. Jos is also still good when it comes to food and all these things. But go to Kano, go to Kaduna, go to many of our northern states, you will see that they are not finding it easy, and hardly would you find for every set of 10 people that you bring, random sets, not sets from the same location, bring random sets of 10 people together, hardly would you find 5 of them who are making up to 3,750 naira per day. Because even if that is all they make per day, they are still living below poverty line. Because to make that one amount per day, some of them will have to enter transport fare of maybe 1,000, 1,300 to from work. Some of them will have to manage food maybe of 1.5. You and I know that food of 1.5 cannot, support anybody. I mean, what you want to eat 500 naira, the money 500 naira, 500 naira. That one cannot work. You and I know. Even all the bread that is only air that is inside, no big nutrient. They are sold minimum for 300. Then you want to buy this for 200. Maybe they will just put 1 teaspoon of beans into your bread, and that cannot sustain you for a day. So if you're looking at it from this perspective, I don't believe that World Bank is right. I believe that wrong. I don't believe World Bank is wrong. I believe that rather than arguing with World Bank, the government should run with these statistics and say, yes, we have been doing some things to alleviate the situation, but there is still much work for us to do. And rather than take it as these people don't like us or whatever, it will also help them if they listen to this expert opinion, and it helps in reshaping their own. Okay, let me finally wrap up on this.
All right.
Sorry, let me wrap up with this. In 2006, thereabout, when the federal government was saying that the population of Kano was more than the population of Lagos, what the now president, who was then governor, did was he made sure that he was doing his own population census simultaneously and independently of the federal government. So when the federal government brought their concocted figure, he brought his own figure. And that was how we are able to know and to claim to today that there are about 20-something million people in Lagos. That's what the president did when he was governor. He did his own independent research, and he was able to win the argument with the federal government. They want to win the argument with the World Bank. Let them do their own research. That's why we have National Bureau of Statistics and all these other bureaus to do all this research and come out with their own figure and say, this is our finding. Then we can begin the argument of whether World Bank is strong or not.
All right. Thank you so much, Benga.
I can't but agree with Benga on that. I think the federal government needs to do our own statistics. Let's go out on the street. Let's get our own data and let's measure. Because the truth is, food is coming down. I was able to buy a rubber of beans yesterday for 9,000. It is now 4,500 to 5,000 naira. And so it means that there are better feeding conditions for Nigerians.
Okay. Now, thank you very much. So, Benga, do you remember, if we're talking about Nigeria churning out their own statistics and probably because of this report that the World Bank has put out there, a lot of people are questioning the source of data. And like you rightly said, that was what I was actually talking about, that the World Bank will have to engage in research and development across the country, and they have different agencies that carry out this exercise for them, through which they go down to pen the data and arrive at the figures they reel out to us. Now, if Nigerians are saying, no, we think your figures does not really reflect the economic reality in the country, just the way Dari puts it, who is the president and the presidency's communications chief there, said that there are lots of things that the World Bank did not put into consideration. I am not into the blame game, but let's interrogate the World Bank's, not just the research from what all we have said, but from what Dari himself said. And let me read out a few of them. Among some of them, he said that we have the conditional cash transfer, which is meant to expand to reach up to 15 million Nigerian households nationwide with verified digital enrollment through the National Register. And over 297 billion naira has been disbursed since 2023 to poor and vulnerable families. The Renewed Hope World Development Program, that's another program that is a new initiative targeting the 8,809 electoral wards, delivering macro infrastructure, livelihoods, and social services directly to the community level. Also, he mentioned the National Social Investment Programs, strengthening components such as the N-Power program, the GEEP micro loans, that's the trader money, the market money, and the farmer money, and homegrown school feeding projects to job creations, encouraging small enterprises and keeping children in school. Food security initiative, distribution of subsidized grains and fertilizers, and mechanization partnerships, and the revival of strategic food reserves to curb inflationary pressure in staple food. I'm going to stop there. Let me measure another one. A Renewed Hope Infrastructure Fund, which is meant to finance critical energy, road, and housing projects to lower living costs and stimulate local employment. National Credit Guarantee Company, expanding affordable credit to small businesses, women, and youth entrepreneurs through risk-sharing mechanisms. He said, as a result of this and others, that time forbids me to continue, that the World Bank report didn't actually capture the economic effect that these economic policies of the current administration must have had, the effect on that of the people at the lower ebb of society. So if we are talking about 139 million Nigerians living below the poverty level, there is another conversation that the level of armed robbery, the level of banditry, the level of kidnapping, and the level of other unscrupulous social activities would have taken up a different dimension currently, beyond what we are currently experiencing at the moment. Do you think, from Darius' perspective, and reeling out all these data and the economic policies that the current administration has made, do you think the 139 million or the position of World Bank, or probably the scope of their research, didn't actually put into consideration some of the things that the presidency expect them to put into consideration? And if they did not, how do we pass that across to the World Bank so that they can take that correction henceforth?
Well, I believe that even with all the figures that Sunday Dare is pulling out, is being cheeky when it says that an institution like World Bank will not put all of those things into consideration. Because myself, that is not even World Bank, that does not even have 1% of what World Bank has, will put all those things in consideration when doing my research. So I believe that the Honorable essay is just being cheap, and everybody has to defend their paycheck. That's why he's saying that. Having said that, if we analyze one by one some of the things he said, the conditional cash transfer since not even just this administration, since Buhari's administration, have been asked more than 10 times to bring lists of people in my community that I believe are in need and would be beneficiary of this transfer. And I've supplied names every time. And I have gone back to cross-check with many of these people. I have not seen anyone claiming to have received the funds. And what I feel with that is that they are just collecting all this data to populate and say these are the people we paid to. I mean, there was a lawyer, Festus Ogun, who sued, I think it was NSIP that sued, that they should provide the names, phone number under the FOI bill, the name, phone number, and address of all the beneficiaries of this conditional cash transfer, that they should provide it. But the NSIP countersued and said, no, it's not going to happen because they are hiding behind national security, which you and I, if we use our tongue to counter our teeth, we know is just a way to say we are not giving this data. And they are not willing to give the data, not because of any national security breach or anything. It is simply because they know that if people meticulously investigate, the secret will be blown open and it will cause a big scandal. Don't forget that it is one of such scandals that led to the sacking of the minister, Beta Edu, that time. And of course, the one before him had been alleged, that Adia, I've forgotten her name, have been alleged to be embroiled in the same set of scandals. So, and thank God that part of the news this morning that you said we'll be talking about, you spoke about Switzerland support to their MSMEs in order sending their grants to the unemployed and whatever in order to fill the gap that this tariff, that 9% tariff that US brought. And if you look at the structure that Switzerland is using, and you look at the structure that Nigeria is using, I mean, you don't need to be a professor to know that we are only hiding behind the finger and deceiving ourselves that we are doing something when we are not doing anything. That is on NSIP and what have you. And of course, I'm sure you have family. I'm sure Sweets have families. Maybe by the time you put a call across in your villages and your hometowns and ask if they know anybody who have received or been beneficiary in the last 4 years or even 6 years. Let's add the second 4 years of Buhari and the 2 years of this. Then if they are tangible number of people who can tell you from your circle that, oh, they have received, then we can go to say these things is going. Because most of the time, the truth will not say we shouldn't speak. For somebody like me, I see it as money for the voice. That's, I might be wrong, and I pray that I am wrong, but I see it as money for the voice rather than it getting to the people. And there are too many scandals that have come to open to show to us that actually this thing is not getting masses that they claim it was getting to. Agricultural support that they said, why can't they go back to Akinwumi Adesina's e-wallet that he did then, that ensured 100% transparency to make sure that agricultural implement and support from federal gets to the real farmer
Mr.
and
Benga,
not to some carcass of people who go and sell this thing.
Mr. Benga, can I pause you for a minute? So, you just talked about the disbursing of the money. I was one of the people that was skeptical because I filled the form and I didn't get kobo. But in my office, I found somebody who came out and said, look, he received his own money. And on my street, I talked to like 3 people because I decided to do my own findings that this is faulty. Because at that point, there was, I think the Minister for Women Affairs, the new one, she came out to say they were using people's BVNs and NINs before they disbursed this money. That was as of last month or 2 months ago. So I went out to do my own finding, and I think I now know 3 people who have received. Yes, a very small number compared to the people I know, but was money disbursed to some people that I know? Yes.
Okay.
So I just wanted to defend that.
Thank you for that verification.
Yes.
No, it makes sense that it's verified because that is only way we can also learn. The people in my own circle might not be lucky of whatever reason did not get it. So it is good when we compare figures like this so that we'll be able to understand, and in fact, the government officials out there would also understand that we are not analyzing because we hate them. We are not analyzing out of, I don't know, maybe hatred. It is just we are trying to say, look at this thing holistically rather than being defensive. This is a call to duty. This is a call for you to stand up and get things done right. Don't wait for when they are praising you only, putting their figures.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let's go to our second story, and by the end of our second story, maybe it will be the appropriate time for me to pass something very, very important information. Now, Nigeria's plan to achieve single-digit inflation in the short term is said to be unrealistic by the World Bank, warning that the country remains among few African nations battling high consumer price growth. In its latest Africa's Pulse report, the bank projected that Nigeria, alongside 8 other countries, would maintain double-digit inflation through 2025 due to currency depreciation, high energy and food costs, and structural bottlenecks. While 37 out of the 47 African economies are expected to maintain single-digit inflation by 2026, Nigeria stands out as an outlier. The report also noted that this contradicts the optimism of key government officials, including the finance minister and the central bank governor, who have repeatedly pledged to lower inflation through fiscal and monetary reforms. Despite a rebound in oil production and an improved growth forecast, the bank said inflation remains a major obstacle to household welfare and business confidence. It urged African governments to prioritize structural reforms that ease the cost of doing business and create jobs, particularly in key growth sectors such as agribusiness, tourism, housing, and health care. Okay. The World Bank, in trying to say Nigeria...
just say my best friend, World Bank. Just say my best friend, World Bank. Because you like them so much, Ray.
No. So I think they are, whilst they are trying to say Nigeria getting a single-digit inflation, now let's bring it before the economic rebasing took place this year. We were about 30% or so, more than 35, if not 37, 38% inflation in the country. Yes. And after the economic rebasing, set in, we jumped down to about 20-something percent.
Which is still high.
20-something percent. And so there's this call that even now that we're still in double-digit inflation, even though the target, the aspiration or the big dream of the current administration is that we get to a single-digit inflation. Many arguments have been coming forth that even the 20% or that we currently are, inflation-wise, it is not something that reflects on the purchasing power of Nigerians, and we've been having back and forth concerning this conversation. I know we are still going to want to resort back to the food prices in the market, how people have been, but one other thing that we should look at, how many organizations in this country, when fuel subsidy was removed by the inception of this administration, how many private organizations increased the salaries of workers? How many private organizations increased the salaries of workers when the fuel price was increased the first time, increased the second time, increased the third time? How many private organizations increased salaries of workers? How many of them did that? Because even the civil service at the state and the federal level, the Nigerian Labour Congress needed to go on the street for a few times to ground economic activities before the increase of minimum wage got to 70,000 naira, and even at that, not all states have been paying that. So let's not just only fix our conversation on the federal government and on the state government. Now let's look at the private organizations. across board, including banks, including media companies, including communication companies, including startups, how many of them increase the salary of their workers to reflect the current economic realities? Okay,
Yes.
so yes, sorry.
Okay, so you wanted Benga to speak.
Yes, I wanted to.
Let's get Benga to speak.
Benga, please, let's get your intake on this. And once we are having conversation on this, let's even bring in the private sector into the limelight, because we need to bring the private sector into the limelight. They are one of the people that organized private sector, sometimes they tilt to the government side when labor wants to go and protest, depending on the benefit, or they feel where they want the pendulum to swing. And sometimes they take the position of labor depending on where they want the pendulum to swing. And sometimes the labor does not go on strike or go to the streets or cry about inflation, because private companies, most of them are not paying pensions. Who holds them to account? Both private companies, who holds them to account? They don't increase the salary of workers when the government increase the salary of workers, or let's say move it from 30,000 naira minimum wage to about 70,000 naira minimum wage. The private organization, who checks them to know if they are increasing? Is it that they are so not independent that when labor cries out and the outcome we see reflect on in the corridors of power in the economies in the federal and state level, they are not, they don't bulge?
Well, I think it would be unfair to model up all the private sector. Yes. I said it would be unfair to model up all the private sector companies together as one, because I remember that before even government increased salary, before government even agreed to negotiate new salary with the labor union, there were many private companies that had increased their staff salary not once, not twice, but 3 times in that period. And many of them made deals, some of them did not make deals. So we can categorize all these private companies into small, medium, and large enterprises. So for the small and maybe medium enterprises, many of them found it difficult to be able to increase appropriately, even when they do at all. But for many of the large enterprises, it would be unfair to say they didn't increase, because off the top of my head, I don't want to mention it. I don't look like an advertisement. I can count 30 private companies that made the news during that period of subsidy is gone for increasing staff salary, where even it was some of their staff that brought this story to social media. But having said that, the reason why it is impossible or very hard for many of the small and medium scale enterprises to be able to quickly increase salary is not far away from the fact that cost of production has doubled or more than doubled due to the cost of the increase in the spike in the price of fuel at that time. And so the challenge is there for them to be able to stay afloat, and increasing staff salary was in the back bench of their mind. Now, you can't blame some of these private companies, because it was just recently, I think some weeks back, that the governor of Oyo State increased the salary of the gatemen at the UCH and in Ibadan and the teaching hospital, because I was shocked to hear that in 2025, those men were earning 18,800 naira. You know, it was the governor that now increased their salary to 80,000 naira and asked them to be absorbed into mainstream staff of the organization. You know, some few weeks back when we spoke about growth rate of the economy, and the government was saying they are targeting, is it that they are targeting a double-digit growth rate, or they are targeting 9% growth rate? If you would remember, I said on that show that I would want the government to be careful in over-promising, because a lot of factors are against them, but I guess that they were shooting for the star, so that if they can't make the star, they will fall on the moon. That was how I quoted it that time when we were talking on that issue. So the same thing with this. How can you say you want to reduce inflation to a single digit when your MPC, your money policy rate, is 27% recently. And what that means is that when small and medium companies, when they borrow money, the minimum interest rate they can pay is 27%. And you know that if government say that is the minimum interest rate they can pay, many of these banks will not charge 27%. They will charge between 29 and even as high as 37%. So how do you want a company paying 37% or 32% interest on loans to be able to stay afloat? Because even in countries where their interest rate, their money policy rate is less than 5%, companies are still struggling to stay afloat. Not to talk of where our money policy rate is at 27%. So for me, I believe that they are just trying to build their house or from the rooftop and not from foundation when they are doing all this over promise. And that is why I would align with World Bank saying that it does not look real, it does not look achievable for them because I mean a lot of factors. We've been able to produce up to 3 million barrels per day of oil. I mean, thank God we had massive improvement. We are doing about 1.6 million right now to 1.8 million. But have we been able to do like 3 million barrels per day? If we have done 3 million barrels per day, have we been able to reduce our MPC maybe back to 13% that they met it during Jonathan's time? If you are going to reduce it back to 13% or 14% that they met it from Jonathan era, then we are only deceiving ourselves if we are putting all these figures. And it is quoting figures like this that put the government into problem because now you have raised people's hope too high, and when you fail to deliver on the promise, you will now be saying, "Oh, all these international agencies, their figures are not correct. They are sabotaging your efforts." But you don't sabotage yourself by over-promising what you know may not be achievable. Let's be realistic ourselves.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
Before we go on a
so
break.
talking about this, there was something you mentioned about the private sector. We must not forget that the private sector, they are the machinery that runs Nigeria. At least 70% of workers, or let's say 60%, are employed by this private sector. So we cannot take it away. There's a Latin saying, they say, "Nemo habit." Can't remember the rest of the quote. You cannot give what you don't have. There was a private sector I was working for at a time, and during the fuel scarcity, the inflation and all that, my boss called us and said, "Do we shut down?" She said, "Look at the running cost. We use 6 million naira for NEPA alone. And to do an inverter is 30 million naira. That means we need to take a loan. We cannot take a loan anyhow. That's a 30% on that 30 million naira." And she called all the staff and she put statistics together. She said, "If you want to leave, leave. If you find somewhere better, leave." Guess what? 80% of the staff remained because you were getting something, and it was better than going on the street with nothing. Let's be honest, the private sector is just now that some cushioning effects is coming in, and especially with the taxation where they are being told they won't pay tax and all that. The truth is the private sector has actually been hit a lot. From the fuel hike to diesel hike, a lot of private sectors had to sell off their diesel generators at that point and start doing fuel and cut down electricity. We saw private sectors that they were closing down, offices and saying, "Don't turn on the AC and all that." Let's leave that aside. And when when the World Bank is talking about these figures and, the Nigerian government, are we trying economically? Yes. Can we do more? We need to push more because, like Benga said, most of the things they promised, it's like hitting for the stars. Are they accomplishable and they're achievable with time? Yes. Like I said, part of the problem the government has is implementation. Now, it is weird that this statistics is coming off a week of a very delicate strike from Pengassen. So it looks like from this strike, if not for Dangote refinery, what would have happened in Nigeria from that 3-day strike is the same way we are seeing gas queues. We would have been seeing a 3-week fuel hike and queues, if not for Dangote refinery, because they would have said they were not importing, there was this, there was that, if Pengassen had gone on strike, for example, and that would have crumbled the economy. Now, that didn't happen because of the swift move of the federal government, the swift move of Dangote to get a court injunction against Pengassen so his fuel tanks could move, and so we did not experience that shortage of fuel in Nigeria. And suddenly this information is coming up. I'm very sorry to say, I feel very biased towards IMF. IMF is an amazing organization, but I, as an African, as a growing economy African, one of the people that stand with my economy, I'm very biased because it was IMF who advised most African countries to devalue their monies. And the devaluation of Naira and cedis of Ghana and a couple of other countries till now has still not helped the economy. We are seeing our money almost, I would not say like tissue paper compared to the dollar. For Naira, for Ghana. And so anytime they bring out their statistics, I stand on, I am very biased because they have not been African friendly over the years. A lot of people can argue this is my point of view, this is some other people's school of statistics. Is Nigeria doing well? Yes. Are we taking the right steps? Yes. We are looking at China telling us we are taking the right steps. We are looking at the Chinese government partnering with us, training people from medicine to engineering to technical people, investing in our shipping lines. If our economy was this bad and it was looking like we couldn't achieve the one-digit economy, I don't think the Chinese government and other nations, Brazil and co, will be coming to invest in us.
Okay.
So I find the IMF, for me, is a double-edged sword. Yes, we should take their statistics. We should be more cautious with it. But I think the federal government should not stop embracing and clapping for themselves with what they are doing, because we can only achieve more if we continue to put out what we are doing there, and we also need to get our own data so that we can always fault head to head with complete data when these people release their own statistics.
All right, thank you very much. Now, for some persons within the public space, private space, requesting from data from the government, most especially when they say the government has made claims that they've paid whether through the trader money, the farmer money, the transfer, and some of these reforms that Mr. Dari referenced in its conversation and back and forth with the global multilateral organization. They've asked questions, and this is it. If you are part of those who received the trader money, who got something from the government's economic reforms, whether in the previous administration or this administration, and the government has not come up with the data, and you yourself, you've gotten, but you've not, you post other things on social media, but you have not actually gone on social media to declare that you actually were part of those who got these monies. You are not doing right. I know it is the responsibility of the government to come up with that data to feed it to the public. And for as many students who are going through university and paying their school fees through the loan that they obtain from the government, it's a new initiative that no government has done before. Now, if this current administration has done that and you are a beneficiary, though the government and the Nigerian universities have not come up with that data and that statistics, not that they don't have it, since they claim, most of these universities, that the government actually paid directly school fees to the students to them. You know the number. Publish it. Go to the national dailies. Go put out a press release and publish the names. If they don't do that, you as a student who got money from that process to pay your school fee, come out, say it, put it out there on social media. If you're not doing it, the government is not doing it, the higher institutions whose students are being sponsored are not doing it, then there is no data out there for Nigerians to bank on. Would they be right when they start putting out criticism against the government? Your answer and your response is as good as mine. We're going to break. When we return, So Business Landscape continues. Do stay with us.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Soup Business Landscape.
From Dubai to Lagos, Nigeria, and across the globe, Soup News TV is your #1 station focusing on business, economy, and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to Soup News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines, from breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, will deliver content that connects you to the world. At Soup News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. Soup News TV, powered by FemWash Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. Soup News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
He said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Soup business landscape.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. You're still watching Soup Business Landscape. We're reaching you live from our studios at Soup News TV in the heart of the commercial city of Lagos. I am Oyinpriye Krumale. We've been doing this with Swift Aderinto and Ayanugba Oluwagbenga Paul. Now, before we go to our next story, let's quickly look at what social media is saying. I'm going to take a message from Governor TV. He said, first, we need to define poverty, the Nigerian context. If we go by living on less than $1 a day, then their figure is questionable. Do we suffer high levels of poverty? Yes. Hashtag SBL.
All right, so Governor again comes with to say, so what government initiatives are directly addressing poverty? This replies that we should be putting out for the World Bank, not the argumentative right or wrong response from the bank.
Okay, I want to quickly run and take Idausa Osamanze's comment. He says, some banks in Nigeria are paying up to 500,000 naira to graduate entry level. Even drivers are earning between 100 and 250,000 naira. I think he was referring to my question about the private sector participation and what they are paying.
And somebody comes in, Governor comes in again and he says that, remember the World Bank and our sister institutions gave Nigeria interest loans to share to poor people, not a loan to initiate skill acquisition or start a business, but directly share cash. Thank you very much for this, because this is the argument we're talking about. You, the World Bank, who is now coming to say that our economy is not looking good, we are not going to achieve the single digits. You are giving out loans not for skill acquisition, which China is doing. You are giving out loans that we should share. You are more interested in us buying rice and sharing for people. Chinese government is putting in skill acquisition projects.
Okay.
Pumping in money. Skill acquisition projects will build the economy in the long run.
Yeah.
So government is thinking the way I'm thinking. So at this point, I will fault IMF. I'm
so let's move to our next story. Linda, I hope you are still with us. Now, the Nigerian pension assets under the management of the Pension Fund Administration and oversight of the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, rose by 97.88 billion naira in the month of August 2025, reaching a new high of 25.895 trillion naira. This marks a modest 0.38% month-on-month increase from the 25.797 trillion naira recorded in July, according to PENCOM monthly industry summary. The report highlighted that growth reflects the continued resilience and strategic development within the pension sector. However, despite the positive headline figure, underlying stress remains, specifically Fund 1 and Fund 2, the most active components of the pension structure, suffered respective declines of 10.185 billion naira and 8.104 billion during the review period. Analysts suggest that while the overall growth is encouraging, the declines in key fund categories point to the need for closer scrutiny of investment strategies and market condition. And it continues to talk about the industry and how it needs to navigate the challenges as inflation, currency volatility, shifting portfolio allocations, and the rest. Yes, Benga, pension. Pencom has come to tell us that, yes, we've got some marginal increase, but there are still some subsisting challenges that that we need to take care of to, to make it very, very plain and easy for investors to conduct businesses. But in line with our pensions, what's your perspective, most especially with regards to this story? Can you hear me? Okay, I don't think Minga could hear me currently. Now, there was a time, I know, that the government, came out and wanted to borrow the pensions.
But do you know, I was about to say that, but I said,
but I don't think that in itself
I
is...
was about to raise that issue. I was also about to raise the man who took a lot of our pension fund and he was made to refund less than 20%.
Okay, so I don't think I wanted to talk about it from a perspective. I actually want to talk about it from the perspective that the government needed to handle some huge projects in the country, and at that specific period of time, it was looking out for monies because I know the bonds were out there, but
yes,
it actually wanted to borrow it. But let's have Benga's input in this.
All right. So on the pension issue, there are about 2 or 3 issues that we're talking about. While the rate is growing, generally with the addition of like 7 billion that they have recorded on a month-on-month basis, what we are saying is that the volatility of some of the investments, because some of the monies are invested into companies, shares, and whatnot. And sometimes some of these investments go up and down. The issue for me is how volatile are some of the investments that they are going into, and how well are they carrying the owners of the money along to say, we want to invest your money in XYZ because we can't allow it to be sitting down. And maybe I can decide to say, no, you can invest other people's money, don't invest my own money, let's just sit down there, make a look out for this. Or I can say, okay, that would be good because I observe the pros and cons and see that I might make profits once the pension fund administration make profit. And when they do make profit, what percentage of profits do they give back to the savings and the savers in the pension fund administration? I don't want to be mentioning specific names, but recently one of the pension fund administrators came to my office and asked that I port from my current pension fund administration to their own because the interest rate, I think their own is about 11% thereabout, and the one I'm with is even 8% in interest rate. So, but for me, I am a conservative who believes that a known devil is better than a known angel. So, but some people, a lot of people, not some, supported in my office to this new pension fund administrator, but we are not getting enough information as a people. And when this money, for example, if they are lost, how do we protect the interest of the pensioner so that their money will not go down the drain? The NDIC, how are they protecting the interest of the people? I remember recently when I wanted to buy some new plots of land, and I was looking at a whole lot of money sitting in my pension fund, and I want to borrow less than that same amount of money to pursue my business interest. I can't. Yet these PFAs can access my money and do with it as they like. I mean, in their quotes, we're made to understand that they lost about 10.1 billion or thereabouts in the month between July and August this year. It's small money for them, but at the end of the day, what is the overall when it's spread over the whole PFAs? Because if somebody is having 3 million naira now and you are losing something that would deplete his money maybe by say 50, 100,000 naira, maybe he might not know. He might say, okay, they are still good. But what if it is depleting his money by maybe 500,000 naira? If you want to spread the risk across. And that is why I believe that people should be allowed to have more say in how their pension funds are invested, so that as we are sharing the risk, we are also sharing the benefits equally. And we know that, okay, I am the one that told them to go ahead, that I have nothing against investing my money in that venture. So even if it goes south, I know that when it rebounds, I will benefit. So those are the issues that I would like the government to put into in this discussion, because a lot of these are issues that make a lot of pensioners not trusting the PFAs. Saying, why would you tell me that until I'm 50 that I will be able to access a certain percentage of my money, and then you now be the one to determine how you spread the rest, when I can take my money in one whole chunk and invest it in something that will turn my life around for good. So the new laws, the new reforms by the federal government, yes, the PENCOM is working, and that is why you are having the results in increased pension funds that are coming in. But then our PFAs under PENCOM should also be careful in ways and manners through which they invest these funds, such that we can be bold to say my future is secure. That's what I would like to say on that.
Okay, so before I bring Swift on this, I want to point the fact that some of these pension fund administrators, like you rightly said, I actually had experience with a few of them who came to me and said, you can use, if you are out of work, if you are out of job, you can access within the space of 3 months or 6 months, you can access 25% of your pension deposit with the pension fund administrators for that period of time when you are not employed, and you can use it as a form of upkeep or to do a macro small business for you to subsist on pending when you get a better job. But it's like, I don't know if that's really function, if it is really operational, if that's what holds sway, because I have experiences with others actually who told me the same thing, that this specific pension company refused to give them that same 25% that they came to advertise to them for the people to subsist on while they are out of job, because this person I spoke with, they were out of job at that point in time, and this pension organization were telling them to go and fulfill some bureaucratic procedure. You write later, you meet with your previous organization, and they use that to delay. But the thing is, who investigates these processes? Yes, Menga, I want to say something.
I said when they were taking my money, I just have to go through that bureaucracy before they took my money.
You don't have to. It is now when you now need it, they're not telling you to do that. And that's not right. So we need maybe the NDIC or a subunit of the NDIC, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, will need to, to put out an agency that can protect the people's money. I know the NDIC, that's their core responsibility, but people who cannot access their pension fund at that particular point in time, but they are out of job, so they can access some of these funds. And also, the second thing is organizations that flout the government regulatory law, that do not pay pension to their staff, needs to be held to account. Who holds them to account? Who investigates this process to bring them into the frame? Because if they had brought them into the frame of things, and if more organizations are paying pensions, probably the profit and the monies we have now would have gone more than what we currently see being published here. Yes,
sorry, I need to jump in before you come and analyze the second question. So the first thing is, let's find out what is pension. Your pension is supposed to be your retirement fund. That's your go-to fund when you retire. Now, to make it more attractive nowadays, the pension body has decided to open that, okay, in case you are out of job or you are going through something, you can go to your funds. But remember, the funds are your go-to when you retire. I have a privilege of having parents who are retired and who earn a pension. I don't need to send them kobo because at the end of the month, they get their monies. Have the pension funds been paying pension as of when due? To my knowledge, yes. That is the most important thing. Every other thing we are doing, I'm sorry, it's saying, oh, you needed money for something and your monies are sitting in your pension. It's your go-to funds. The children you are training, you can never tell if they will have your time. You can never tell if the investments you are doing right now. It's that little fund that at the end of the month, when you are done serving the country and you are too weak to get a 9 to 5, that comes at the end of the month and you can feed yourself and pay your rent and touch up your old house. That is the reason for the pension fund. So let's not lose focus and be saying, oh, they are not giving us loans and the... Secondly, for the bureaucracy of, you understand, receiving funds, I do not blame them 100% because Nigerians are amazing people. And the same Nigerians who go and borrow 25%, you're entitled to 25% of whatever you have saved if you're out of a job. There will be the same people when they retire that will come and say, look, the pension fund cheated us out. Yes, I am not very excited about the investment of the pension. I think they should do more critical analysis before they put in people's monies, because I do not like the fact that they are losing money. That's a red flag for me. I'm not very excited. I think they should do more of mutual funds that are risk taking. The risk taking is not, the percentage is not too high. Now, for the fact that they have seen more income coming in, we need to give kudos to the government. It just shows that because of the new taxation law, a lot of offices are afraid. You must account for why you earn this much and why your pensions and your workers' taxes are not being paid. So even the pension bodies are going to see more monies come in. Now, for the, like, there was something you raised about the private entities who refused to pay pension. I worked for somebody for 10 years and I was not being paid pension. My pension was not being paid because the person said, look, you are a contract, turn our payment to contract. And so the pension I have is from an old office I worked in 3 years ago. Should these things be looked at? Yes, it is critical. They should be looked at.
Okay.
The same workers, yes, I know,
story.
who are also, some people also seem to want to avoid pension, because I had somebody who wrote into his office and said he doesn't need the pension for anything. He already has a retirement plan. So we must analyze all these issues before we come too hard on the pension body. That's my take.
In our last story, Switzerland has announced an extension of partial unemployment benefit from 18 to 24 months in response to the growing economic pressure caused by the United States' new tariffs of 39%. The move is designed to support companies, particularly those in the watchmaking and small industrial export sector, which are among the hardest hit. Officials slated that the extension aims to preserve jobs and maintain industrial stability as businesses navigate the impact of rising trade barriers and reduced global demand. The Swiss government emphasized that the decision reflects its commitment to protecting the country's high-skilled workforce and export-oriented industries. And the story goes on and on. Because of time, we may not be able to take all of our stories. But before we leave, Benga, you made reference to this story whilst you were addressing a few issues on the stories that we've looked at earlier. We only have 5 minutes to round up the program. Could you do that in a minute and a few seconds?
All right. I mean, this story, you can tie it together with the Kestama story in India.
Yes.
Where Kestama is trying to hurry India to be able to do their what do you call it, business deal, because a lot of them are feeling the pang of the tariff from US. And I think Donald Trump is winning because many of the US companies who went out for the purpose of profitability are now returning back into the country, and they are now saying we want to invest more in the US mainland. So, and this is affecting especially the watch industry and the chocolate industry, which Switzerland is known for. That is why the government there says we can't wait and allow a total collapse of industry. We will support them for a further 6 months rather than the 18 months that we want for. We will support unemployed individuals in the country for 24 months. And unlike Nigeria, there is a high level of patriotism. Even if you don't want to be patriotic, they have all your data, so you can't lie, you can't say I've not collected when you have collected and things like that. So with that, it's reducing the pressure on many of the small and medium scale enterprise so that they can adjust to find quickly other markets where they will target now that the tariff is making US less competitive. And I think this is an opportunity for Nigeria, for Sub-Saharan Africa to position themselves not as net importer or consumer, but as a co-partner in providing alternative markets for some of these industries that will be a win-win for the nations across Africa. And there are so many like that. You see, the UK itself is under serious pressure, and that is why they are trying to hurry up India. And this shows to you the lie, where they will come in public and they will berate Russia for attacking Ukraine, but yet they will go behind the scene and go and buy Russia oil that is refined in India, and then do business with India, who is just fronting for Russia on so many fronts. But this is what it is. I just feel that our national economic team, economic advisors should sit. In fact, it's already too late, but it's better late than never to sit and tap into how we can reposition ourselves as the nation, the destination nation, to benefit from some of this bric-a-brac that is going on between EU and US and the entire Europe subcontinent, even the Indian subcontinent at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. As we round up.
So basically, Benga spoke my mind. When I saw the story, I just busted into laughter. And I'm like, it is the same India that US is claiming they are going to put sanctions on. EU too is saying they are going to put sanctions on them. And suddenly, the UK government, who is one of the main founding members of the EU, who are one of the strong countries, is now trying to do business with the same India. It is the same India who has decided not to back out of their Russian agreement for petroleum, because they have looked at it that any which way, the relationship they have with Russia is more beneficial for their economy. Still coming down to what the World Bank is saying, we all know that the UK economy is going down fast. We see Canadian Prime Minister afraid and trying to resign because their own economy is bad. We are not seeing the IMF bringing out reports, but they are very interested in Africa. Let's push that to that side. This agreement is going to be beautiful. The Indian population is amazing, and of course they are, I think, the second highest immigrants into the UK. That's Chinese, India, before you come to Africans. So it is very good for them. It means that resources from both the UK to India will be exchanged and good to go. It's good for growth economy. It's also good for Africa, because Africa will realize that we need to start to strike more individual deals like this with other countries.
All right. And for me, lastly from this is that if the Switzerland government is looking at most of their economy, their export-dependent economy has been negatively affected, and they had to provide some form of cushioning effect. I think African governments, including Nigeria, should also do that. As a result of the tariff coming from the United States, everybody has received their own percentage. So in our own reception of our percentage, what have we done to soften the ground for our firms that are, whose strength is based on the export out of the country? That's a question for us to answer next time, maybe just rhetorically. And this is where we draw the curtain on Soup Business Landscape. Thank you so much, Ayana Balua Benga Paul, for your time with us again this penultimate day in the week. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. My name is Oyinpriye Krumale. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Sook News TV. Very good morning to you.
All right, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who took their time to contribute. We adore you and we appreciate you. Have a beautiful day and don't forget to grow Nigeria, be Nigerian, think Nigerian and Africa. And that's the only way we can move ourselves forward. My name is Swifter Derrito.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Literally said is going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy, see something. This is Sook business landscape.
In April 1960, just months before Nigeria's independence, a 26-year-old ascended one of the most revered thrones in Yoruba land. His name, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetona. His reign, almost 65 years. His legacy, a modernized crown, a globalized culture, and an unwavering voice for truth. Born 10th of May 1934 into the royal house of Anikinaya to Prince Rufai Adetono Adeleke and Ajibabi Adetono Ne Onashile, Sikiru Kayode Adetono's royal destiny was set early. He attended Baptist School, Ereko, in 1943, Ogbere United Primary School, and Ansarudin School, Ijebu-Ode, before enrolling at Oluiwa College, now Adeola Odutola College, from 1951 to 1956. He later worked briefly in the audit department of the Western region in Ibadan, before leaving for the United Kingdoms in 1958 to study accountancy. But history had other plans. On the 2nd of April 1960, he was installed as the 58th Awujale of Ijebu land, taking the regnal name Ogbagba Agbotewole II. Young, confident, and stepping into leadership just as the new Nigeria was emerging, marking the beginning of one of the longest and the most consequential reigns in Nigeria's history. Despite his demanding role, Oba Adetono maintained close family ties. He was married and blessed with children, who were raised in the blend of royal tradition and modern education that defined his worldview. Known to be a devoted family man, he valued privacy in personal matters, but ensured his children had opportunities for education both within and outside Nigeria. Socially, he was at ease in multiple wards, equally comfortable in palace courts, university lecture halls, diplomatic gatherings, or informal community events. He cultivated friendships across business, politics, and academia, yet was deeply rooted in his hometown, often mingling with his people during festivals and communal projects. The coup that saved a king. But destiny tested him. In the early 1980s, a government commission of inquiry moved against him. Suspension and deposition loomed. The order was to take effect in early 1984. Then came 31st December 1983. A military coup swept away the civilian administration, and with it, the threat to his throne. The Awujale returned more respected, more resolute. Beyond royal ceremonies, Oba Adetono built a reputation as a monarch unafraid to challenge authority. He spoke plainly on governance, justice, and public accountability. In 2016,
he institutionalized those ideas by endowing a 250 million naira professorial chair in governance at Olabisi Onabanjo University, OOU, the first of its kind by a Nigerian traditional ruler. It was a deliberate investment in shaping ethical leadership for generations to come. The Oju-Dioba Festival long predicted his reign, but under Adetona, it became an international spectacle, a celebration of Ijebu identity, Yoruba elegance, interfaith harmony, and cultural soft power. It drew politicians, captains of industry, global tourists, and the diaspora to Ijebu-Ode each year, making it both a cultural statement and an economic engine. Adetona presided over a kingdom of religious plurality, Islam, Christianity, and traditional worship, often using his platform to advocate tolerance. Though a devout Muslim and president of the United Muslim Council, he regularly attended Christian events and encouraged interfaith harmony. And now, the final chapter. On 13th July 2025, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetona Ogbagba Agbotewole II passed away at the age of 91. He was buried according to Ijebu customs in solemn rites, shielded from public view. Attention now turns to succession and the weight of following one of Nigeria's longest-serving traditional rulers. Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetona reigned across three Nigerias: the colonial twilight, the start of military rule, and the promises and failures of democracy. He proved that a throne could be modern without losing its roots, bold without losing its identity, and proud without closing its doors. His voice will echo in the university lectures he inspired, the festival he globalized, the cultural pride he nurtured, and in the personal values he instilled in his family. As Ijebuland turns the page, one question lingers: whether or not the next Awujale will match relevance with integrity and tradition with transformation, following the path of the past hero. Grace Komolafe, Souk Perspective.
Known as the father of African literature, Chinua Achebe was born on the 16th of November 1930 in Ogidi, now Anambra State, eastern Nigeria. He was born to Isaiah Okafor Achebe, a teacher and an evangelist, and Janet Anenichi Iluegbunam, a vegetable farmer. Achebe has reshaped the global understanding of African identity through the power of storytelling. Raised during the twilight of colonial rule, Achebe's education was steeped in both Igbo tradition and the Western values of post-colonial Christianity. As a student at the University of Ibadan, he became fiercely critical of how Africa was portrayed in Western literature. Achebe believed that Western literature often painted Africa as a dark and primitive continent, but he sought to tell the African people's lens. In 1958, Achebe's groundbreaking novel Things Fall Apart shattered colonial narratives through the tragic story of Okonkwo, an Igbo warrior. Achebe illuminated the complexities of African culture and the devastating effects of European colonization. Things Fall Apart became more than just a novel. It became a symbol of African resistance against the oppressive narratives of colonialism. Achebe was not just a writer, he was a passionate advocate for African self-determination, and his political activism made him a critical voice in the post-colonial era. Even after a life marked by personal and political struggles, including a car accident that left him partially paralyzed, Achebe continued to inspire. He taught at Bard College and later Brown University, where his influence reached new generations of writers and thinkers. He was married to Christiana Chinwe Okoli and they had 4 children. Sadly, he died in March 2013 at the age of 82. Chinua Achebe's legacy endures in his novels, his essays, and in the countless voices of African writers who follow in his footsteps. He gave us a voice, a story, and a vision of Africa that is ours to share.
To start with, let me give some introduction to myself. As you said, I was a former commissioner of finance. I was a commissioner of finance during the Ganduja's administration from June 2015 to October 2018. I was there for 28 months, okay, as a commissioner of finance. And I had been with Bayero University, Kano, before I was appointed commissioner of finance. Still, I'm a professor of accounting in the university, but I double as a commissioner of taxation because at the Prince Abubakar Audu University, Ayumba, Kogi State, there was a chair that had been vested there by the Federal Revenue Service in 2011. And they invited applicant for that chair, and I was the successful person, successful applicant. So I still occupy that chair, even though the chair is not functioning. But I got the privilege of serving as the elected or selected professor of taxation in that university. So I am in the area of taxation. I have done a lot of researches in that. And then I serve as the Federal Commissioner of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. So it was on 15th November that our tenure came to an end, from 2018 to 2024 November. So you can see that I have been involved at various levels on the issue of fiscal policy, tax revenue generation, tax revenue utilization. So this the reform that we are talking about was brought about by the president with a view to maybe perfecting the tax system in the country. So he formed a committee to advise him as to how to go about coming up with very good national fiscal policy, not just tax policy, and then how to reform the taxes in the country to make them better so that Nigeria can compete with other economies that are advanced in the area of utilization of taxation as a means of growing up the economy and achieving sustainable development. So this I know, the process and all that have gone into this project of reform. So bills were developed out of the report of that committee appointed by the president under the chairmanship of Mr. Tayo Oyedele. And for the first time in the history of forming committee in Nigeria, we had a committee that the president has given the power of implementation. So it's not just about recommending something to him. It is about coming up with a report which will be convincing to him, and if he's convinced, he will ask them to be involved in the implementation of the recommendation of the report. So I think that is why the committee just presented the proposed bill to him without taking this bill to the public domain. Because of the trust that he has on the committee, he just sent the bill to the National Assembly for consideration, for passage into law. And in the bill, they even gave deadline as to when the bill to be passed into law. They expected that the National Assembly would deliberate on this committee, on this bill, to the extent that the bill will be passed into law before 1st January 2025. So that by 1st January 2025, the content or the provision in these bills will begin to be implemented by the government. 4 bills were developed and proposed. And then, unlike the expectation, the comment you made that people are more concerned about the administrative, tax administrative bill. What the bill that is generating the highest controversy is the Nigerian tax bill. That is the bill that has made provision for repealing about 11 taxes that are currently existing, including the VAT itself, including petroleum profit tax, including personal income tax, including companies income tax, and other taxes like capital gain tax, casino tax, etc., etc. And then about 14 laws that are related to taxation, including laws that are designed to exercise control over consumption, over production. They made substantial amendment on them, and then take the amended part of those laws into the Nigerian tax bill, which means that the laws have suffered from, or they have enjoyed, consequential amendment. So this bill, which is expected to become an act by 1st January, is now becoming an amalgamation of most of the taxes that Nigeria is using now. Most of the taxes, those that have been repealed, part of them, part of the provision in them have been injected into the Nigerian tax bill. Those that have been considered for consequential amendment, they are also captured in the Nigerian tax bill. And then they made a lot of paragraphing, creating part, creating section, etc., etc., to the extent that the content of that bill is about 220 pages. So you have to develop the stamina. You have to be used to reading before you read everything from the beginning to the end. And if you don't do that, you may miss a lot of things. And you may be talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. And unfortunately, that is what is happening in the public domain. You hear people talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. They just listen to news, radio, television. When they hear the comment of somebody, then they will amplify that comment ignorantly without reading the bill and understanding the content of the bill. So that is the one that is enjoying the greatest controversy. Of course, others too are enjoying some controversy. The Nigerian tax administration bill, because it is in that bill that the new sharing formula for VAT was stated. VAT have been extensively explained or described in the Nigerian tax bill, but how to share the proceeds of VAT have not been captured there. that provision could only be seen when you go to Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, which is the bill that has been designed to show how the tax authorities in the country at the federal level, state level, and local government should be relating with one another so as to avoid conflict, so as to avoid a situation whereby all of them may go to a taxpayer with different dimension of claim. The bill was designed to achieve this main objective, to resolve the conflict that has been happening between tax authorities or even revenue generating agencies. Because when you talk about the revenue, we shouldn't be talking just about the tax revenue. You have revenue that custom is collecting. That bill, second bill, is saying that custom should no longer be involved in collecting revenue. It is the Nigerian Revenue Service that should be collected. Custom, let them take care of their responsibility of checking item coming in, item going out, which is another area of clash. These custom people, they are used to collecting money. Okay, and they are used to, many of them, a lot of allegations are there as to how they are collecting this money, how they are not remitting the correct amount. So now, collection of custom duty will no longer be the responsibility of custom official, custom service. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should be collecting. The same thing with all other agencies of government that are considered as revenue centers. So that bill has made adequate provision to show that they know the moment this bill was passed into law, they don't have any power to collect revenue. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should collect. Let them deal with their own responsibilities of stabilizing the economy, ensuring control over consumption, over production, over whatever. But then collection of revenue is not their own. And then between the state internal revenue service and the Nigerian Revenue Service, there should be harmony. If there are revenues sources that are difficult for the state revenue service to utilize in generating revenue, they can bring in, they can collaborate, or they can reach agreement with the Nigerian Revenue Service to do the collection and then share the amount collected as per the agreement, or take cost of collection as per the agreement and then give the state internal revenue service or even local government revenue committee what they deserve. So the expectation of the Nigerian Revenue Nigerian Tax Administration Bill is to bring about harmony and understanding. So how that could be brought about is a question to be answered. Because of the nature of Nigeria, the nature of official, and the way the people put their eyes on money. They want to be the one collecting money or keeping money or doing something with money. And now you are saying that all those that are used to that, they have to they will be suspended from doing that, or they will be banned from doing that. It is only that agency, the Nigerian Revenue Service, that will be doing it. So there are some issues there that are calling for a question, okay, understanding among the agencies involved or the tier of government involved, and then of course patriotism to ensure that whatever we do as revenue collectors, as treasury managers, as revenue utilizers for the execution of various projects, we demonstrate ethics, we demonstrate honesty and integrity. The revenue agency itself, before now, the revenue agency is behaving as if it is for the federal government. And this bill that has been sent to the National Assembly is encouraging the Nigerian Revenue Service, which will now replace the Federal Revenue Service and the law that establish it. It's encouraging it to consider itself as a federation agency, not federal government agency. It is to be serving the interests of the federation. And so, the concern of the state should be addressed by that agency. The concern of local government should also be addressed. It should be an agency that should be mentoring local government revenue agencies or tax authorities and state government revenue authorities or tax authority, so that they carry themselves together as a team, then ensuring that we have very good tax system in the country, that we have adequate revenue generation on taxation, which should be put to use for executing various projects that will bring about sustainable development in the country. So when you look at all the provision made in the Nigeria Revenue Service Bill, they are talking about the need for harmonious working relationship. They're talking about the federal Nigeria Revenue Service to serve as the model to state revenue service and local government revenue committee, so that they have very good understanding in implementing the provision in the Nigerian tax bill and the Nigerian tax administration bill. So all the provisions are like that. And then provision have been made adequately as to the position of the executive chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service, the need for governing board, which should have that chairman as the chairman, the need to have the technical committee at the state level, and who are to be members of that committee, the whole and representation to be drawn from various MDAs and other agencies of government and federal government into the committee, and many other issues. And even at the local government level, there is a need for revenue, local government revenue committee, which should be chaired by the councillor in charge of revenue or finance at the local government level, and who the members are and their function. So when you look at all the provision there shouldn't be any controversy. Even if there will be controversy, it should be less. And it should be something that could be resolved. For example, personally, I will not support a situation whereby the chairman of the State Internal Revenue Service should also be the chairman of the board. This is against corporate governance system. And then the same person will be the chairman of the technical committee. The same person will be the chairman of the revenue joint committee, where all the representatives for local government will be members and other agencies. So it will be as if the chairman of the Internal Revenue Service at the state level will become the alpha and omega on all revenue issues in the state. And that person may even be seen himself to be more powerful than Commissioner of Finance. When I was Commissioner of Finance, I was serving as the supervisory person on all the activity in the Internal Revenue Service. The chairman of Internal Revenue Service should be reporting to me, should be taking orders to me. He shouldn't be going directly to the governor. But the provision is showing that the chairman of Internal Revenue Service is equal to the commissioner. And in fact, they were even saying that governor is just to nominate him and has to go to the House of Assembly for clearance. Just as commissioner will go to House of Assembly for clearance. And there is no provision to show that this person should be answerable to the Commissioner of Finance. So something like this, I think many people may not see it. But with my own experience as a Commissioner of Finance, who have been intimately related to the Minister of Finance that time, I know the problem many states were facing as they empower the chairman of the Internal Revenue Service, they empower too much the Accountant General against the Commissioner of Finance, who should be the supervisor to all these agencies of government. So issues like these are there, and appropriate action need to be taken by the National Assembly in correcting the lapses in the bill. Then the last one, which is about institutionalizing revenue board. Okay, a revenue board. Before we have joint revenue board. Before we have joint tax board. So now that joint tax board is an appendix of the personal income tax. is just under personal income tax. So now, the drafters of the bill, they will want joint revenue board to be on its own. I have a law supporting it, so that at the federal level, where we have the chairman of the Federal Revenue Service, he will now serve as the chairman of the Joint Revenue Board. Then all the chairmen of the Internal Revenue Service at the state level will be members. Ministry of Finance will have a representative. Ministry of Budget and Planning will have a representative. And you have some other agencies of federal government that may send representative into that board. So that board will be taking decision on monthly basis on where improvement should be made, how to solve problems between one tier of government and another, and many other things, which will be very, very beneficial to the president or the Federal Executive Council, and then beneficial to governors and the various state executive council on fiscal policy and on utilization of taxation to generate revenue and on utilization of the revenue being generated by these agencies. Because many people are having the feeling that the agency, they collect this money and they spend the money. But in real sense, they only collect. But they remit to the government, into the treasury of government. So while they collect, they have the responsibility of collection, they don't have the power to spend a kobo from the amount generated. It is the government that takes care of that. So the Joint Revenue Board has been given a lot of responsibilities in that bill. So when it becomes act, become a law of itself, so the Joint Revenue Board will now be more powerful than what we know before as Joint Tax Board. So this is just the summary of the bill that have been sent to the National Assembly for passage into law. Yeah, my stand is that we need reform in our tax system. As a student of taxation, I have the belief that no economy can make any progress if it doesn't have a good tax system. Most of the economies of the world, or I can say all of them, all the developed economies of the world, they are tax-based economies. And most of the natural resource-based economies, they are among the backward economies in the world. Look at it. All the members of OPEC, none of them is part of the G20. They have the revenue, they have the oil, they are producing it in great quantity, but they are still being considered as developing economies. Well, when you look at UK, Germany, France, US, other countries like that, they don't claim to be having enough revenue, enough oil to refine for their use and then to export the excess for sale. They don't claim for that, and that's why they don't belong to the OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They base their economy on taxation, but then they have very good tax system, which is just attracting minimal complaint. And the moment they hear some complaint from either the taxpayers or the tax administrators, they take appropriate action immediately, so that at the end, nobody will complain. And because of the reliance on taxation, the citizen of their countries, both natural and artificial person, companies and individuals, the citizen of the country, as they pay tax, they have the right to demand accountability. They have the right to demand prudence. They have the right to demand transparency. And for that, those impositions of austerity, they are always in fear that whatever, if they steal a kobo, people will shout, this is our money. We contributed this money for execution of progress that will amount to a project that will amount to sustainable development, not for the money to be stolen. So this person that is stealing money, appropriate legal action should be taken against him. Sometimes you hear some leaders being hung. Sometimes you hear some leaders being shot, the firing squad, because of the misuse of public money. So members of the public that are contributing this money in the form of taxation, they complain. And then they insist on appropriate action to be taken. So before you come out and claim that you want people to vote for you to go to the parliament or to be the governor or the president or whatever, you will have it in your mind that when you go there, you touch public money, that may be the end of your life. Because the contributors of that money will be, their eyes and attention will be on the money. And the moment you misuse it, they will take appropriate action against you. Your image will be tarnished. You may even lose your life. So those economies that are considered as developed, they rely substantially or totally on taxation for their development. And then those economies that are reliant on natural resources, oil, cocoa, solid mineral, whatever, as they use the money from this to execute project, the members of the citizens of that country, both natural and artificial, they don't care if they see them stealing the money and abusing the money, because it's not their money. It's not their own contribution to the economy. Number one, the prohibition on VAT, which you said earlier has attracted a lot of attention from leaders in the northern part of the country. VAT could be addressed in two ways. Okay, the first way affect everybody, and then the second way is what the leaders in the north are complaining about. The first way is on the increase in the VAT rate. Increase in the VAT rate. We have never had a situation whereby progressive increase will be brought to VAT rate in any country in the world. From my region, I have never experienced it. But this is being brought about in Nigeria through these laws. They said VAT rate now, which is 7.5%, as per the Content of Finance Act 2020, will be increased to 10% from January 2025. Just about a month away. If the bills are passing to law, VAT will be increased to 10% of all VATable goods and services. And then just 1 year after, 2026, it will be increased to 12.5%. Then you have a small raise for 3 years. By 2030, the rate will be increased to 15%. So you can see the progression in the increase of VAT. And the moment you increase VAT rate, inflation will come up very powerfully, especially as you are increasing from 20 to 2025, 2026, you are increasing 2.5%. So the goods and services throughout the country, you see their prices going up. And there is no separate market for VATable goods and services and non-VATable goods and services. No separate market. Don't just feel that when you increase VAT rate, the increase in price will be on VATable goods only. All other goods and services, their prices will go up. And how do you survive that? Nigerians now are complaining about fuel subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal, and many people have become unemployed. Many people have become disabled. Nobody, no any earner of salary can claim to be saving anything for investment. People are borrowing money to top up to the income that they have for survival. And those that have no work, they are complaining. We just finished induction for ICANN. About 3 inductees met me that if I have any chance for them to get employment, you are qualified as a chartered accountant and you are looking for jobs. So what about the secondary school leavers, diploma holders, and other people that have not even attended school? So unemployment is on the high side. And increase in inflation is a killer to businesses, because when you don't have people buying, you have to stop production. You have to stop providing services. And when you stop production, you sack your employees. And then you have more people go into the employment market and labor market. So increase in the VAT rate is a very big killer to an economy. And this is a problem that affects all the states in Nigeria. And our president himself in 2020, I could remember, when they are trying to increase VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%, he came up and warned the government that this increase in VAT rate will be harmful to the economy because of the inflation that it will ignite. That was during his, I think, 68 or 69 birthday lecture. When he was to comment, he talked harshly against the increase in VAT rate. And now the same government is accepting the bill to go to the National Assembly for increase in VAT rate on a continuous basis. So I see this as a very big mistake. The timing is very wrong. And then the policy, the idea of progressively increasing VAT rate, especially as Nigerians are complaining about the subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal. So this is one thing that need to be looked into. And as we are interested in generating more revenue through taxes, particularly consumption tax, we have to be very careful about the consequences of the increase. And this is for the whole country. So that is one part. The second part is about the sharing of the amount that will be generated. Yes, right now, when VAT is generated internally, and of course the one for custom, they put it together and share it using vertical formula and horizontal formula. Vertical formula between federal government, state government, and local government. So federal government takes 15%, state government 50%, local government 35%. That's how they share it vertically. And then for local government and state, since they are not at the same level in terms of population, in terms of level of economic development, in terms of weight for industrial development, so they have to use the separate formula. And they agreed that 50% of whatever belongs to state government should be shared equally. 30% should be shared on the basis of population. And then 20% should be shared on the basis of derivation. And that derivation, in the simple language, is about the contribution of every state to the VAT that has been generated. And at the local government level, they are to consider the contribution of each local government to the VAT that has been generated. Okay? So at the state level, when you say contribution of every state on the VAT that has been generated, consumption is much more in some state than in some other state. But then the formula, the derivation, the term derivation, this date, that is being applied now, is giving priority to states where the head offices of companies providing services and goods are located. You do consumption in Adamawa on services, maybe the recharge card, and other communication or telecommunication services, or bank services, or insurance services, or whatever. So since you are just dealing with the branches there, the head office of the bank producing these services is in Lagos or in Rivers or whatever. So it will be deemed as if you do the consumption there. And so the credit will go to Lagos or Rivers or Ogun or wherever, where the headquarters of it is located. Not where you do the consumption. So at the end of the day, you see that states like Lagos, its own contribution may be 50% or 60% or more every month. At the state like Rivers, its contribution will be about 15% or 20%. Abuja may be about 10% or 50%. And then the heavy consumers, the northern state, like Kano, which is a commercial center, its own contribution may be 1% or 2%, because it doesn't have the head offices of the companies providing these goods and services that are being consumed there. So at the end of the day, you see that 20%, if it is 6 billion, for example, if it is 6 billion, for example, so 60% of that 6 billion will be about 3.6 billion. That may go to Lagos. And then 10% of that 60% may be about 600 million. It may go to this. And then you, the consumers, you may get 1% of that. So you can see that particular 20% is the crux of the matter. That is the basis of the controversy. So now that this bill has been submitted to the National Assembly, then these people have saw that this derivation has been increased to 60%. 60% instead of 20%.
Previous.
Now, not previously. Right now, 20%.
Not right now, 20%.
And it has been jacked up.
It has been jacked up.
And the depreciation has been jacked up. And then in the law, derivation has not been defined. But then people have to go by what is happening now. As they go against it. Since now the derivation is about contribution of state that are producing these goods and services being consumed. So they have the right to just say that, oh, so now instead of 20%, it will now be 60%. And then you hear the government functionaries, including members of the committee, saying that no, that's not what they mean. They mean area of consumption. This 60% graduation is about consumption area, not location of the headquarters of company that produce the good or services. You should have defined that in the law. When you say the issue of derivation has been increased to 60%, but what we mean by derivation is this and that. So that controversy would have been avoided. Or you go under the interpretation section. And so as you are interpreting this, and then you say derivation. By derivation, we mean this, and that. That has not been done in both the Nigerian Tax Act and the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. So you can sympathize with the people complaining. And then if it goes like that, if they don't correct it at the National Assembly before passing into law, the moment it is passed into law, they will go back to this issue. The suspicion that they will just go back to a pleasing state where the headquarters of the companies are located, because there is no definition that says that it is about consumption. So everything needs to be documented. Yeah, in a society that is well informed, you should always talk on the basis of evidence. And evidence in accounting, we said you prioritize when you are to prioritize between two evidence, verbal and written. Written is more important than verbal evidence. Okay, and that is why in court, even if you say you give verbal evidence, they want to write it down and read it for you. Then you sign or you put your thumbprint that yes, this is your comment. Because written evidence will continue to remain. Verbal evidence could be denied in a later date. So these are two issues, all based on that. And then you can appreciate why people are talking too much on this matter, to the extent that they don't even care to notice other lapses that in the act. But they, as student of taxation, I have to read and try to pinpoint lapses that need to be corrected so that we have a perfect reform on taxation or on revenue generation in our dear country. So you see, I saw provision on development levy. That there will be development levy. And that development levy will be 4% of accessible profit of companies whose turnover is more than 50 million per annum. So their accessible profit, 4% will be charged as development levy from 2025 to 2026. From 2027 to 2029, development levy will be reduced to 3%. on 2030 and up thereafter, development levy will go down to 2%. So that development levy will be the reason for wiping out other development levies that is used by some government agencies that are providing vital services for this country. You have TED Fund, Tertiary Education Trust Fund. Now they are relying on 3% of accessible profit of companies for all the projects that they are executing across the country. TED Fund, as I hope you know it very well. So it's the one that is most of the infrastructure development in federal university, federal polytechnic, federal college education have been executed by TED Fund. They sponsor lecturers of various institutions to go for further study, to attend conferences. And they have what they call National Research Fund. They take care of all the researches that are being conducted by all these tertiary education institutions using that money. So TED Fund will now get some share from this new development levy. And then you have NIDA, Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, which is given the mandate of making Nigeria to become an ICT economy. And that agency is relying on 1%. 1% of the profit before tax of GSM companies, banks, insurance companies, etc. These are companies that are pushing for ICT technology development. So the agency is the one to be monitoring the activities, and they want to be funding ICT development in various institutions and taking many other measures which should take Nigeria to ICT economic level. You have NASENI, Nigerian Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. So that is an agency that has been given the mandate to make Nigeria become science and technology economy, to promote local manufacture of cars, local manufacture of motorcycle, and many other things that we show that we have grown up as an economy that can compete with all these developed economies. So that agency is also relying on a particular share, I cannot remember, from what internal, I think Federal Revenue Service is collecting. And now the government has introduced NEL Fund. So NEL Fund is collecting 1% of the total taxes, levies, etc. that are passing through the Federal Revenue Service. So these are 4 agencies of government that are relying on levies, charges, etc. for them to take care of the mandate given to them. So this development levy is designed to ensure that 3 of them are phased out systematically. Only NEL Fund, which is for giving loan to students, will survive. By 2030, that 2% that we are talking about, from 4% to 3% to 2%, the whole of that 2% will be for the NEL Fund. While all these have been put aside, it's up to the government to decide whether to disband them or to put them into the mainstream budgeting system. So in 2025 to 2026, TED Fund will get 50% of that 4%. And NEL Fund will get 25%. NIDA will get 20%, NASEMI will get 2%. So by the end of 2026, NASENI, NIDA will no longer get anything from that development levy. So they will be on their own. It's up to the government to decide whether to cut them out or to continue to fund them through the budgeting system. And then by the end of 2029, TED Fund will not be getting anything. Well, from that 27 to 29, they said TED Fund will be getting 66 and 2/3%. And NELDA will get 33 and 1/3%. That is what will happen for 2028 and 2029. By the end of 2029, forget about TED Fund. okay, it is only NELPON that will be getting that 2% development levy that will be charged. So you can see that by 2029, all the three agencies that have clear mandate for moving the Nigerian economy forward, they may either be passed out or they may be taken back into the mainstream federal government budget. And agencies that are used to being independent, are going to working on target. How can they survive under the mainstream government budget? So the other implication is that as you have on the NELPON, even before transferring everything to NELPON is there to give loan to students. All this money that will be coming to you just for giving loan to students. So this shows that a Nigerian student will mainly become debtors. And when they become debtors, will they have the mouth to complain about the government being a debtor nation? Nigeria as a whole becoming a debtor nation. Every day loan is increasing. So students too will now become debtors. Secondly, the federal institution, all these federal universities, they are not charging tuition fee up to now. They only charge registration fee. University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, Bayero University, Kano, ABU, all these federal universities, and many of the state universities, they don't charge tuition fee, just to encourage children of the poor to attend universities or polytechnic or colleges of education. So as NELPON is put in place, nobody can claim that he or she cannot pay tuition fee. And then no university or polytechnic should be going to government asking for money. In fact, government may even give them target of the amount that they should be remitting to the government. Because you are charging tuition fee, you are charging registration fee, you are having enough money to take care of yourself. And then we want you to remit something to us because we own the federal university college education polytechnic. So at the end of the day, you see that students will become debtors, students and their parents who insist on making sure that their children attend universities or polytechnic or college of education. And then the universities will no longer be complaining about insufficiency of funds because private universities are not complaining of it. They have their founders who are funding them and they are charging fees. Some are even charging 2.something million per semester in Nigeria here. Some are charging 2 million, some are charging 1.5 million per semester, and some per session. And so they have a lot of money to execute various projects, to pay high salary to their staff. And then the private universities, they are complaining that no money. When you go to go, they say no money. Even for execution of project, they either NELPON to do it for you, or you go cap in hand as for support from individual and organization to execute project for you. But now that you are allowed to charge fees, and the student, if they don't have money to pay, or their parents don't have money to pay, to go to NELPON to collect loan for the payment of the tuition fee and the registration fee, and even for living costs. And the method is very clear that when you borrow such kind of money, you will start making repayment 2 years after graduation, and even 2 years after graduation until you get a job to do. And then from the job that you are doing, you'll be paying 10% annually up to when you finish paying the loan. How will that be feasible in Nigeria? How will that be feasible? So this provision too is a matter of concern. Yes, for people that will look about what will happen in the future. Look at the implication of the policies contained in that bill. Okay? So I'm of the opinion that to correct these lapses, they should just stop at the first formula. When you collect 4%, you increase the rate to 3%, as again to 4%, as again 3% for NELPON, in order to accommodate other agencies, and you stop charging the other rate. And then, so the first year they said 50% will go to NELPON, which is like reducing what NELPON is getting from 3% to 2%. I hope you understand. When I say 50% of 4, that is 2. Before NELPON is getting 3% of the accessible profit. So we can manage with a decrease from 3% to 2%. And then NEL fund, which is the baby of the government, will give you 20%. Okay? Then NISDA, which is having very clear mandate of making the Nigerian economy an ICT economy, 20%. Then NASENI, 5%. Saying we don't care much about the technological development that may come to manufacturing cars, motorcycle, etc. We give them 5%. And then allow them to look for means of further funding themselves. So you stop at that, but not to scrap any of these agencies. So that's my own advice. Okay? So that is another important area that needs to be addressed in this bill before they are passed into law. In taxation, as I said, we encourage payment of what you can afford. A situation whereby, this is my own personal opinion, yes, and people may feel that I am in support of taxing the poor. No, I'm not talking about the poor. Anybody that doesn't have income, that doesn't have profit, that doesn't have gain, it should not be considered for taxation. But if you are making some gain, you are making some income, no matter how small, and you are paying something, no matter how small, out of what you are gaining, that will make you to have greater moral right to challenge government. But if you are put outside the tax net, you are not contributing anything, you don't have much moral right to come and challenge the government for inefficiency, for poor accountability, for poor transparency. When I was Commissioner of Finance, I had called to be organizing some town hall meetings with small, medium, micro, small, and medium enterprises across the market that we had in Kano. I will invite their leaders and inform and address them. You see, we are introducing presumptive tax. We are doing that with a view to ensuring that you own the government. You own the government. This government belongs to every one of us. But then those that are contributing money into running the affairs of the government, into executing various projects for the state, they have greater stake than those that are not contributing anything. And no matter how small your contribution is, you have the right to claim ownership of government. So many of them were encouraged. So I say, okay, you are in this business, you are at this level. How much can you afford to pay as your presumptive tax? So we say they themselves, yeah, they will accept, yeah. So there was a time that we had meeting with some of them. I was saying that you are too small, or maybe every month you should be contributing 100 naira. Some say no, if that group of people can contribute 150, we can contribute 200 naira every month. Through engagement, interaction with the micro, small, and medium enterprise, you can arrive at something that they will be contributing in the form of presumptive tax. And that payment will make them to have the pride of becoming taxpayers. And they will be having their eyes on how government is spending the money. But the situation whereby you come openly and say that you are pushing away about 90% of the people out of the tax net. So you are only relying on 10% of people for the payment of tax. So you are saying that you are now taking the whole of the government to 10% of people, or probably 1% of people. My worry is about that threshold. The fact that you have threshold does not mean that somebody that is not at that threshold, who is making money, cannot contribute with a view to owning the government. I hope you understand. My concern is about ownership. Taxation is a way of owning the government. So if I pay tax, like now I pay tax, I know every month they deduct something out of my salary as a lecturer in the university. I will look at my pay slip and see the contribution that I have made. So if I need tax clearance certificate, I can go there and collect it, whatever reason. But you that are not paying anything, what tax clearance will you ask for? Okay? And then if something bad is happening in government, you see them stealing money. Do you have any right to complain? Is it their money? What have you contributed there? So a situation whereby we want people to be economically empowered, to own government. And then we are now having a reform that is saying that that is even proud to say that about 90% are made not taxable, even presumptive tax. So in other words, I am of the view that as we claim for transactional tax to be paid by the rich and luxury asset to be taxed as that are at the lower level, they should also be paying some presumptive tax, even if it is 10 naira per month or 20 naira per month, so that those rich people claim that the government belongs to them, this one too will say, yes, the government belongs to us. So provision like this is not there in the act. All they are just claiming is that they have pushed people away from the tax net. And pushing them away from the tax net, just pushing them away from ownership. So you are just surrendering the whole of the government to very few people who will now be teleguiding those in the position of authority. And you will just be asking for help all the time. Where you can also claim ownership with pride, or no matter the amount that you are contributing to government. The other aspect of it is this absence of adequate provision in the Act on property tax. Property tax, yes, property tax. Like I was talking about luxury asset. Those with luxury asset, they need to be taxed on the value of this luxury asset so that we generate more revenue. Those that are doing the transaction of high volume of money, they need to be taxed for this transaction. That's what we call transactional tax. So you can see that as we are talking of relieving the poor or income earners from tax, from this tax rate, we are not talking much about taxing the rich in the bill. It is not clear as to how properties of the rich people in this country who are very small. Someone was even telling me that in Nigeria, where you say 99% of the wealth of the country is in the hand of 1% of the people in the country. That 99% of the people of this country, they own only about 10% of the wealth of the country. What a gap. If this is true, we have not done any study empirically to ascertain this figure. But you can see some sign of it. And you need taxation to bridge the gap. And then as you are arguing for the bridging of the gap, you now have a reform that is throwing away 90% of the people from the tax net. And then the people drafting the bill are even proud to say it. So I have reservation on this. If I found my way, I will agitate for appropriate correction to be done. And that does not mean that I'm agitating for the taxing of the poor. I'm talking about those that can afford. They are not for the personal income tax rate, but then
Good morning to you and welcome to Across Borders, your development-focused program, spotlighting real migration stories, lived experiences, and policy discussions across Africa and beyond. But today, we are shifting away from the regular migration story to other issues that also matter across our borders, especially as they affect our people and businesses navigating regional trade. Our focus today is on trade and travel. Policy reforms to support small entrepreneurs across borders. For many small business owners, crossing borders for trade should mean growth and opportunity. Yet, policies, logistics, and mobility challenges often stand in their way. Joining us to unpack the realities and the reforms needed is Dr. Femi Egbeshola, President of the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, ASPON, a leading advocate for small-scale enterprises and cross-border economic inclusion. Stay tuned. The conversation on how trade and travel can truly work across borders begins after this break. Stay with us. If you are just joining us, welcome to Across Borders. Today we are looking at trade and travel policies that are shaping small entrepreneurship across Africa. Like I mentioned before we went on that break, our guest is Dr. Femi Egbeshola, the president of ASPON. Dr. Femi, it's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I would say this on camera. I actually thought you were going to be joining us virtually.
Well, it's fine to be live sometimes.
And we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So without wasting time, let's get into it. I want to ask this, we need your perspective on this to start. You know, how significant is regional or cross-border trade to the growth of small businesses in Nigeria and across Africa?
It's very significant. In Nigeria, we have been import dependent for a long years. And this time around, the narrative is changing. We are beginning to embrace exports. And if you look at the recent statistics rolled out by NAPC, that is Nigerian Economic Export Promotion Council, rather, you'll see that our export doubled this year. And it shows that we are already embracing exports. And you know, exports in Nigeria here is more in the region. It's more in the continent. It's more in ECOWAS countries. And it is beginning to give us a lot of revenues. You see that at the moment, too, many MSMEs are now embracing exports because our local market is becoming saturated and very competitive. Again, too, because of our falling naira, so to speak, our product is now cheaper in the global markets and even in the continent, which makes us more attractive to buyers in the region and even in Africa. A recent data shows that monthly, from the informal sector alone, we have about $2 million being generated. But the question is, how many of this informal trade are being captured by statistics? The government needs to begin to look at how to build structures so that we can bring about the informal traders across the borders to the data board, so that they can also have policies that would support them. It is when government is able to capture their data that they can now roll out specific policies that can support what they do, and also help them to migrate from being informal to formal. So by and large, exports has been very, very beneficial, not just to government alone in terms of revenue, but also to the players in that sector.
Great.
You also look at the communities that are around the borders. They are doing very well based on exports. So this export is not for them as a livelihood alone, but it is also keeping their communities active and vibrant.
That's interesting. So you actually talked about the impact and how well the SMEs are actually involved, what they are doing, especially with the GDP. So I'm just going to ask you, SMEs, you know, they occupy 96% of Nigerian business, contribute 46% to GDP, yet less than 8% of export. I don't know if you get that. So what explains this level of export participation? You have mentioned, yes, they contribute this, of course, but the export level, if you look at it, it's kind of low. So
it's because the data is not rich enough. The data we have in the papers today is more of the formal sector, those in the formal sector doing exports. The informal sector is not being captured, and a lot are being done in the informal sector. So we need to begin to encourage governments to look at how to bring about structures to be able to capture those in the informal sector. You'll be surprised the kind of volume of trade that is going on in the informal sector. And you want to ask us, why are those in the informal sector not trying to embrace formality in their business? Because sometimes their capacities are not built to be able to do that. sometimes too the policies, the documentation, and the approvals that is needed to formalize becomes an Herculean task for them to embrace. So we begin to look at how can we break down some of these structures to be able to meet them at the point of their need. Some of us are of the advocates that it's time for government to begin to segment the approval processes such that it will not be one size fits all. What is available for large businesses will be those that the small businesses or even micro businesses will have to also contend with. That will not work most times, and that will not bring about migration of this informal to the formal sector. I also believe too that it's also time for all of us, be it corporate organizations, be it a business membership organization and all of that, to improve in creating awareness about what is happening in our borders, creating awareness about opportunities that are there for border traders if they formalize, and also creating awareness about the incentive that government has for these players around the borders.
Thank you very much. So you agree with me that there are limitations, but despite these limitations, you still see, these entrepreneurs being motivated. What is the motivation? You are in that sector. In fact, as the president of ASBON, you get to see a whole lot, you get to hear a whole lot. What do you think motivates the entrepreneur?
I think the first thing that motivates them is the reason for being in business, which is profit. When you do cross-border trade, you get more money than when you trade locally because competition is severe. You can actually not really go beyond board to fix your price. And when you deal with exports, you're able to sell your products more. I mentioned the other time that our currency now is devalued, and that makes our products more attractive, so you get more markets. At the same time, too, you're able to sell at a better price, which also means more profits. Also, too, you look at those particularly around the borders, they have little or nothing that they do as businesses beyond export. They have seen it as one veritable tool for them to keep their body and soul together, and they have become veteran in it over the time. So that's another reason why you see many into exports. Again, too, you see that a lot of sensitization is now going on. Government is doing a lot now to preach to us the need for us to begin to export. For us also, too, we have come to a time where we know that we just must do business the other way. And one of the other way we can do business is to look at other markets around beyond Nigeria. Technology, too, has been about a lot of transformation. Technology now made it possible for us to now sell our product across borders globally with just an Instagram or Facebook or any other social media and for e-commerce platforms. This has also enabled us. Then government has provided a number of incentives to support exports. These incentives are massive, and it's enough to stimulate export, and that's why we are seeing the kind of statistics we are seeing now. I'm sure if we all support the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics and the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, they'll be able to roll out for us new data that will show times 100 or more of what you have in the data bank at the moment when it comes to exports.
When it comes to export. Thank you very much. So talking about exports, the informal export, right, from Nigeria borders, they exceed 31 million US dollars, according to report, especially between early 2024. But how can policy capture and support this segment?
Yes, the first thing is that for policies to be able to drive attention to their need, we should capture all in that net. At the moment, that has not been done. I did say that many of those playing in the informal sector are still doing a lot that are not being captured. So when the data is only capturing what the medium and large businesses are doing, ordinarily you would say that policy will be tending to that direction. For us to get policies to support those in the informal sector, government must now play in a way that they should also be captured. Another thing is that they also need to be aware of many ways that they can do business in today's world. One of it is AfCFTA promises to give them leverage for them to trade across the continent. But if you look at it, how many of them are aware of AfCFTA? A recent survey shows that 67% of the respondents in 5 different states says that they're not even aware of AfCFTA at all. That is Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And those who are aware, they do not even know the step-to-step process of taking advantage of this AfCFTA. These are challenges that needs to be tackled with. I'm also happy that government is also coming up with some innovation that also support export now. One of it is the national window that allows everybody now to do a one-stop shop documentation, permit and licenses under one portal. I think that's another national single window. That's another wonderful platform, and I'm sure it is also going to bring about a lot of exporters being captured by data by the time it is rolled out in the first quarter of next year.
Great, thank you very much. So you talked about technology. I just want to bring in social media in a bit. Despite social media, we still see some people lacking, the proper information. You are in that sector and you see how it's been done. Would you say that social media has really helped? Do people get enough information to help them carry on with their businesses?
When it comes to sales and trade, social media has been a big enabler. A lot of SMEs now use social media to sell their product. We also have a number of e-commerce platforms that are used to sell our products. But when it comes to information, awareness, publicity, and sensitization, it's not much on the social media platforms. And that is the area where we need to begin to concentrate our effort on. That while the few people that knows the advantage are taking advantage of it, we need to begin to look at how can we now bring on board those who are not aware of the many opportunities that are available. And I think that has to do with every one of us also, starting from government. Government will be intentional about creating awareness. This has to be done across social media handles in a language they understand, in the format they understand. It's not too bad an idea if they also print flyers and all of that, stating specifically the step-by-step process, checklist, requirements for documentation and all of that, that even the informal players will need to become an exporter that can be captured by data. These are very important. It's also good for us to begin to look at how to get testimonies of those who have been able to use social media to leverage on their business. Mm-hmm. This will help a lot to also encourage those who are not using it to see the advantage of it. But these are not always there on the social media space. And I think it's something we need to begin to work.
It's very important.
Yes.
It's very important. Okay, so because we are talking across borders, of course, I want to speak to originality. Somehow, you hear about some particular countries when they talk about their products not being original or quality, and they tend to ship them to some certain countries. And you find some Nigerian goods as well, where they tend to give them a particular tag. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to scream. You get the point. So what do we need to do to ensure that when Nigerian products are seen anywhere in the world, that credibility is there, that acceptance is there? Or are we there yet?
We're not there. We have improved a lot, if I must be honest, but we are not yet where we ought to be, really. When it comes to that, it has to do with standardization, and that's where the Standard Organization of Nigeria comes in. It should be a must for us to ensure that whatever is leaving our shores is of standard, of quality, and whatever is also coming in is of the same. And the best way to do this is to begin to build the capacity of exporters, not just exporters, even every manufacturer, to embrace quality, to embrace standard. And one way to also do that is to create workshops, webinars, seminars, to educate them again and again, have collaboration with business membership organizations like us to continue to train these people, let them know what they need to do when it comes to labeling, let them know what to do when it comes to packaging, let them know what to do when it comes to the SOP, the standard operating procedure of what they are doing. These are very important, and ensuring that it meets with at least the minimum standard. You see, at the moment, Nigeria used to be a dumping ground, but as that narrative has begun to change for now, our standard has been elevated to some point, but I think we still need to do more.
All right, thank you very much. I think I agree with you. There is a need for us to do more, because the best we can wish for ourselves is to get better every day. So I want to ask, Nigeria's former non-oil export, reaches $5.4 billion US in 2024. Now, how can small businesses benefit more from this performance?
Yeah, what we need to do, because I also represent small business.
Okay.
What we really need to do at this time is first to have a mindset shift from the local market to global markets. And that is very important, to begin to look at how can I make my product meet with standards, how can I begin to now export it, perhaps starting from Africa, then globally. The next again is that for government to also give us the support system that we need. Support systems by ensuring that, by ensuring that the national single window works. One thing is to have many good policies on paper. It's another thing to see it work. You remember that sometimes in the past we have had single windows for trade that did not work. So it's important that this works, because when this works, it will really make documentation and approval seamless. It will also reduce corruption and all of that, human interface in all of the process. And at the same time, too, it will help to increase our profit, because we will be saving a lot of money and saving a lot of time. It's also good to begin to look at government bringing instruments of trade into play. One of it is factoring. When I sell to someone anywhere, and the person is to pay me maybe in the next 45 days. Factoring makes it possible for me to get my money maybe in the next 72 hours, and I begin to do business again. Also, to government licensing more players in the digital platform when it comes to payments, digital payment platforms, such that when I trade with Côte d'Ivoire, I can send money, receive money in my currency within minutes instead of waiting. Ensuring too that there are windows created in the financial system for FX for small traders. At the moment, it is very difficult for small traders, SMEs, to get FX from the banks. They go to the parallel market, which is very expensive, and cut profits, which is also not too good. There should be a special window for small traders that they can access funds. There should also be a channel whereby reporting can be done when issues arise, particularly at the borders. There should be hotlines where people can call government, call agencies of government to report and get solutions to their problem at the port. We should also begin to look at how government too can begin to bring about infrastructure, even at the border points, that supports exports. One of it is good road. One of it is ensuring that all the payments that should be made are published and available to the SMEs that are doing cross-border trade. A lot of extortions, a lot of informal payments are happening at the borders. When there's a printout, you know what to pay, you can even prepare for it, and it reduces extortion. Another thing is for those who are exporting perishable goods, there should be storage facilities across the borders that can help them to also save their products until it gets to the point of destination and save us a lot of money. So many things that we all need to do.
Great. So many things indeed that we all ought to do. And I agree with you. So while you were talking, you mentioned Côte d'Ivoire. So I actually want to ask you, this relationship country to country, do you understand? Are there agreements that you feel are barriers that are affecting these border trades? Again, I mean, you mentioned policy earlier, and I want to talk about some of those frameworks. Do you think these frameworks, such as ECOWAS, AfCFTA, among others, do you think they adequately address small-scale trade realities?
Well, on paper, they are designed to address that. When you talk on paper. When you talk of ETLS, ECOWAS Liberalization Scheme, you talk of AfCFTA and all of that, they are intended to sort of provide the buffer and solution to small businesses, but it has not really translated to realities, and that's the problem we have at the moment. And I think one of the reasons is that we do not have enough cooperation among the countries. For example, when you have a product here in Nigeria that is certified by the certifying body, maybe NAFDAC, maybe Standard Organization of Nigeria, and all of that, by the time you get to the next country, you have to do a whole lot of certification again. Of course, it is understandable that every country has their standards, but there can be some form of harmonization. There can be some form of strong handshake so that this will reduce bureaucracy, will reduce expenditure for some of these small business traders across border. You also look at it again when we have very wonderful initiative like AfCFTA. How many people have been able to take advantage of it? How many small business owners has been able to export under AfCFTA? It is very, very minimal. And this will continue if you are not intentional about it. Government must be ready to hold some as pilot schemes to be able to do this. Sometimes late last year, we had 10 organizations, 10 companies that were supported by government to do exports. But after that, what has happened? It is good for us to begin to look at how this can be not just a one-in-a-moment chance, but a continuous process, sustainable process that government must continue to intentionally support. And maybe finally on that, it is also good for us, every one of us, to begin to see how we can use the media to also preach this gospel that we all must begin to embrace exports. The time has come when we can no longer rely on our oil. We must begin to do non-oil exports, and that's the way we can actually grow our economy. That's the way we can bring more revenue. That's the way we can create more jobs. That's the way we can create wealth, and that's the only way we can be sustainable and resilient now as small business owners.
Thank you very much. Talking about the media, I think there's a platform, and we'll do everything we can, to ensure that we push that narrative as much as possible. Let's quickly talk about mobility and logistics. I mean, we're just going to wrap up maybe one or two more questions, and we are done. So, only 28%, I mean to say, Africa travel in visa-free countries. So we have issues with visa, we have issues with travel restrictions, some policies all around it. Well, maybe not as much as it's been said, but because you are into this sector, you'll be able to explain better. Tell us, are they truly hindrances?
There are a lot of bottlenecks when it comes to transport across borders. And it's been there for a long time. We hope that by now it will have been seamless, but it is not. It will shock you to hear that sometimes you can spend 1-2 days in certain borders. At times you have perishable goods, but you are being stopped, not because you are not doing illegal business, but because some people want to extort you, because some people want to bring for you licenses and approval that you have never heard of, you have never seen, and they make you pay, even at the detriment of your business. The roads are bad. Sometimes a shorter road that will lead to the border, maybe 45 minutes because the roads are bad. You have to take a longer road that takes more hours and affects the time you do business. You also look at insecurity. Many of the borders are not secure. You see a lot of theft going on. You see a lot of even kidnapping sometimes going on and all of that. You also look at women in business who are in cross-border trade. They are also more affected because they sometimes they are harassed, they are molested because they are women, and these are big issues. And that's why some of us believe that there should be a better framework for cross-border trade, and government should begin to champion that. When we look at policies that are directed only to the formal sector, we will not get it right because the informal sector are more. So we should begin to look at how can we begin to work with this informal sector. And you cannot really get it right if you don't have a strong handshake with stakeholders in that sector. And that's why we keep preaching that government must create policies together with stakeholders like us who are in that space, so that it will not be that we will only be consumers of the policy. We should be part of the incubation stage, which will be part of the process, which will be part of the implementation, which will also be part of the monitoring and evaluation. And that's the only way we can get it right.
Thank you very much. And at this point, I'm just going to take one more question. Our time is almost up. I want you to just put them together. We've asked a couple of questions, but put them together to address the topic for today. What are the things we need to do as a business person, as a government, as an individual? What do we need to do to get it right?
Let me start from government. Government must continue to enable businesses to be able to do more export, making sure we have access to loan to do export at affordable rates, making sure that FX is available, making sure that the national single window works so that we have one portal for payments, making sure that logistics and infrastructure are provided, making sure that incentives are there for those who are into export, and ensuring that those in the informal sector are brought up to be formal so that we can have enough data that can really show the realities of what we have. Then coming to individuals, particularly business owners, the next economy is not intra-trade, but inter-trade. We must begin to look at how to maximize exports, both continentally and globally. That's where the money is now. Our products are very good and it's needed everywhere, and it's also very cheap. So we should continue to look at how to make more exports. And then we should be resilient. We must be resilient. No matter the challenges we have, we should know that there's no condition that is perfect. We should continue to make best of the imperfect condition. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, many will smile, as some are already smiling. And for corporate organizations, even for the media, they should continue to also support us as corporate organizations, to create awareness, to bring money out for seminars, capacity building and all of that, to create support desk sometimes banks need to create support desks for export in their branches so that they can get funding for those in that sector. And for the media, thank you for what you are doing. I appreciate that. I will also encourage every other media to see how they can support export. Having a program called Across Borders alone shows that you are focused on export, on cross-border trade, and I think that is commendable. If you have these in pockets here and there, the narrative will change.
Thank you so much. I mean, thank you for the accolades. Thank you for the good words. So take home for me is the fact that you mentioned that the next economy is not an intra-trade, it is in inter-trades. I think I like that part. And all hands need to be on deck. So everybody needs to work, the government, individuals, finance sector and all of that. Media, yes, we need to put our hands together and work to ensure that all of these things are done. I want to say a very big thank you to you for coming. Yes, we actually thought we were going to join online, like I mentioned earlier. So you coming in person, it's a great deal for us. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you very much. When it comes to cross-border trade, it is close to my heart. Very dear to me. I will come again and again for it.
Thank you so much. And definitely we'll be reaching out to you again. And that's it at this point on Across Borders for this sector. We are still coming back. We are not going anywhere yet. Yes, it's World Post Day, and we will be bringing you somebody to speak around this celebration because we want to join the world to commemorate this day. Across Border is still on, but we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the other part of the program. Stay with us.
Just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Every letter, parcel, and envelope carries a story, a connection between people and places. This World Post Day, we celebrate under the theme, Post for People, Local Service. Global reach. From remote villages to bustling cities, postal services remain at the heart of communities, delivering hope, commerce, and voice. They link local lives to the global stage, ensuring that no one is left behind. As the world changes, the post evolves, blending tradition with innovation, bridging distances, enabling growth. World Post Day 2025. Serving communities, connecting the world.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Every letter, parcel, and envelope carries a story, a connection between people and places. This World Post Day, we celebrate under the theme, Post for People, Local Service. Global reach. From remote villages to bustling cities, postal services remain at the heart of communities, delivering hope, commerce, and voice. They link local lives to the global stage, ensuring that no one is left behind. As the world changes, the post evolves, blending tradition with innovation, bridging distances, enabling growth. World Post Day 2025. Serving communities, connecting the world.
Welcome to the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. ADSC is an organization focused on training and research to advance sustainable development and growth in Africa. We exist to facilitate customized training, research, and study exchanges worldwide on leadership, management, and critical development issues. The center offers a platform for the exchange of ideas and best practices. Our comprehensive services encompass research, consultancy, capacity building, training, and education programs, as well as publishing and disseminating development-related knowledge. Our faculty consists of experts and researchers with extensive experience in policy formulation, implementation techniques, and monitoring and evaluation. Our methodology involves talks, individual and group exercises, games, video screenings, and discussion seminar sessions in a cozy atmosphere, making learning enjoyable for our participants. For more information, email us at info@adstudycenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website at www.adstudycenter.com to learn more about our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Glad to know you are still with us here on Across Borders. Today, we explore one of the oldest tools of human connection, the Postal Service. As we mark World Post Day, we reflect on the past, present, and future of postal connectivity. Long before emails and instant messages, the post linked families, traders, and governments, carrying hope, building trust, and shaping early trade and communication. But as technology redefines how we connect, what becomes of the posts? And how can postal systems across Africa stay relevant in this digital age? To unpack this, we are joined by Simeon Abayomi Fashanu, a community leader and networking marketing provider, whose deep insights come from years of watching his parents serve in the Nigerian Postal Service. It's a conversation that bridges history, people, and the evolving phase of connectivity right here on Across Borders. Glad to have you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
So we want to talk about the Postal Service. It's World Post Day. And I want to ask you, how did your early connection with NIPOST, again, how did it begin, your connection with NIPOST? How did it begin? And what influence did watching your parents serve in the postal system have on you?
Thank you very much. I was born into the posts and telecommunications as it used to be in those days, P&T.
Okay.
My father, Simeon Adenino Fashanu, worked in the telecommunications department of P&T.
P&T.
It started as Post and Telegraph, then it said Post and Telecommunications. Communication easily is developed by human beings. And almost all living things do communicate in different ways. In Nigeria, postal services, as I know then, started in around 1850 something, and with my father joining the P&T in 1932, we had a lot of communication. He was being posted to the Cameroons, to Kaduna, and all over the places. He became the chief inspector of lines in the 60s, by the time he retired in the 60s. It was beautiful being able to communicate with your loved one. And we had the telephone at home. We had postal services mainly coming in through deliveries. We had the postman at that time. The postman was a very important man within the society. He comes to you, to the house, delivers. He knows nearly the names of everybody on that street. And as children, we used to look forward to letters. In Lagos in those days, you can get letters posted in the morning on Lagos Island, and you will get it at some other part of Lagos like Surulere and all others. The old Lagos Federal at that time. You can get letters. Now, how do we post these letters? You know, the introduction of stamps. These stamps is like a charge, and can also be used to certify transactions. Like you get a receipt, house rent receipt. Once there is a stamp on it, in those days it used to be 2 pence or 5 pence or something like that. And once it's on it, it legalizes that document. It becomes something you can tender in court in those days. So the economy was beautiful. And I could remember vividly when I was in primary school secondary school, Loyola College, Ibadan. You can post a letter in the morning telling your mom, we are closing next week, I need money for my transport. And send the money through the post with what we call postal orders. It was postal order. Some call it money orders.
So,
I think money orders are from but postal orders in Nigeria was beautiful. And when we are in the dining hall, that is where we distribute our letters. Okay. So names are called, and once you do your name towards closing time, it's either your 10 shillings postal order is coming in for your transport or for your monthly allowance. So it was beautiful. We were able to communicate. Once you can read and write, you'll be able to communicate in those days. And it was a beautiful thing.
Okay, so I want to ask you, do you think that experience at that time compared to now, then you think is more exciting than what we have today? You know, you be in the comfort of your house via your phone. You can just get your mail. You can just get your information rather than having that family gathering, just like you mentioned, you're in the hall and you're being called by name to come and have your delivery. So, I mean, what do you think?
Today is wonderful, beautiful, having all this. But the excitement, for me, it's not there. The excitement for the youth is there for them. Like the excitement we had on postal. Letters are posted and they are taken away. We had these boxes, wrought iron boxes at different corners in the streets.
Okay.
You go there and you put your letter. Once you put your stamp, you put your letter in it. And at times, if you don't have money, they will still take it along and charge the person that is being delivered to.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And it was good for we students in those days. You have no money. One shilling was a lot of money. And you have to post your letter. They will still take it. And they have each postal distance. The one in Oshodi Street, there was one on Oshodi Street on Lagos Island.
Okay.
The street is now being reconstructed, and as I was coming, I just remember.
Oh my God!
Where is that? It has to be kept. So as soon as I leave this place, I'm going to look for, because it was in the median, very close to the cenotaph, or what we call it, in Oshodi Street.
Okay.
Now, it was there, and sometime about 3 months ago, I think I saw it.
So you want to go look for it today?
Yes, because everything along the median has been uprooted and is being built, very well built by the local government. But who took that? Because in these days of smelting of iron and all that, it's a monument. The times for these things are posted. Postmen were never late in clearing those letters. Got my letters of appointment from the post when I first started working in 1974. And you apply for jobs through the post. You don't need to go anywhere in those days.
Wow. So you just talk about you applying for a job through the post.
Yes.
Compared to those days where you need to go about with your CVs, you need to go from offices to offices, Well, of course, we still we get to send mails, and then get information via social media. But I don't know, you feel it's more convenient having all of that at that time compared to now. But again, I want to ask you, how would you describe the role the Postal Service once played in your community in the past? And I'm talking about your community. What was that major role?
Yes, community. Number one, if you are not in and your letters are dropped, you're sure to get it. Your results, school's results, university, your GCE results, all these things come through the post. And you get this, and people get to know you. But today, it's becoming too personal and too secretive. You can be living with somebody next door and never know their surname. Yes. But in those days, you see, letter for number 7 Bishop Street, Surulere, that was our address then, is put in a box. So the person that has the key, if it is keyed, will come in, take it, and start delivering it in the rooms. In those days, we had more rooms than flats. So they start delivering it in the rooms. So we all know each other.
Okay, that's beautiful. Fantastic. So, taking you back old days, taking you back memory lane, it's so important. I mean, we're going to take a break. When we come back, this conversation still continues, and I want to believe that you are enjoying the story. For those of us that do not have all of that experiences, you can just pick from this and feel like, oh, I thought I was born then. Anyways, we're on a short break. When we come back, Across Borders continues. Please stay with us.
Just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Welcome to the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. ADSC is an organization focused on training and research to advance sustainable development and growth in Africa. We exist to facilitate customized training, research, and study exchanges worldwide on leadership, management, and critical development issues. The center offers a platform for the exchange of ideas and best practices. Our comprehensive services encompass research, consultancy, capacity building, training, and education programs, as well as publishing and disseminating development-related knowledge. Our faculty consists of experts and researchers with extensive experience in policy formulation, implementation techniques, and monitoring and evaluation. Our methodology involves talks, individual and group exercises, games, video screenings, and discussion seminar sessions in a cozy atmosphere, making learning enjoyable for our participants. For more information, email us at info@adstudiescenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website at www.adstudiecenter.com to learn more about our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Once upon a time, letters took weeks to travel across borders. Today,
Air transport makes it possible to send parcel from Lagos to London overnight. But behind the speed lies a powerful partnership between the aviation and the postal service. The aviation sector is the engine that drives modern postal logistics. Every day, thousands of letters, parcels, express packages fly on cargo planes and passengers' aircraft belly. But it's not all smooth. Postal systems, especially in developing countries, face big challenges. Poor infrastructure, customs delay, and limited air connectivity. To survive, they had to improvise. Some now partner with private airlines and logistics startups. Others are exploring drone deliveries for rural areas. We have moved past traditional mail to air-driven logistics. Aviation gives us speed, reach, and reliability, but it also demands innovation. And the numbers tell a business story. With the rise of e-commerce, global air cargo demand is soaring. Postal agencies that adapt quickly using aviation for express and last-mile delivery stand to gain billions in revenue. So the next time you send a package across the country, think the route, aircraft schedules, and airport handling that make the delivery possible. Aviation isn't just about passengers anymore. It's the silent backbone of postal logistics growth. In the skies above us, a new kind of airmail is thriving faster, smarter, driven by technology. Aviation is giving postal industry a second wind, turning old challenges into new business opportunities. You're watching Across Border, and I am Alice Patrick. Stay tuned for more insights.
Thank you very much, Nkechi Alice, for that update. Yes, and that's it. It's still Across Borders, and today we are joining the world to commemorate the World Post Day, and it has been a conversation with our guest, Fashion. So let's get into it. Today, with mobile phones and instant messaging, how relevant is the postal service to people in your area?
Good. There are all these things developed from the postal system, and it's just a faster way, bigger way to address things. The postal service still, we still order small items and parts and get it from the postal office at Marina. You see transfer things which has been taken over. Most of the job has been taken over by network marketing. Network marketing falls a lot on posting. But these days, we have direct posting and messaging. But in those days, you have to go to the postal office after receiving your slip, your registered letter, or whatever, to go and collect. In those days, we used to import things from Germany. In those days, shoes, clothes, and all that, samples from Germany, from abroad, and collect in those days. Same thing. Now it is more direct to the home. And that is why we are not seeing a lot of it. Is still postage. You are still posting on our phones, on our laptops. We have to post things. It's still posting, but it's electronic. That's what it is these days.
Oh, okay. It's still posting, but it's electronic. So would you say that they have also adapted to, the regular ones that we have to the logistics, e-commerce, and all of that? Would you say they have adapted?
Yes.
They have all adapted.
In my community, we have adapted. We have, I don't need to come to your house to see you. We have what do you call it, groups, WhatsApp or Telegram groups. We now talk with each other without even getting out of your bed.
Okay.
So we are gradually the agent, which is, I'm surprised at the number of people above 70 that are on the net these days.
Okay, so, but let's look at it. Would you say there are challenges facing postal access or delivery? Are there challenges at all?
Yeah, there will always be challenge. Once you solve a problem, that problem will create another problem. The solution will create another problem. And it's throughout life. And there are still challenges. These challenges, network failures, and other things. And these have to be perfected. Once it's perfected, then other problems will come and we know how to face it. Maybe because of the large volumes of people involved.
Okay.
Where you have to build capacity, you have to... Quite a lot of things. And they will still come.
All right. Okay, so I want to ask, would you say, with the advent of technology, would you say technology have actually impacted the postal service? Whichever way, you know, I mean, you have a lot of people, a lot of things to do, and you have people, and a lot of people are start thinking, oh, are we going to lose a job? Is technology going to take over? You know, all of that. So what do you think?
On the side of jobs, the Russians, or I don't know, I don't want to say Russians now.
Okay.
The Russian Revolution,
okay.
The architects, through Lenin, Karl Marx and all that. Karl Marx postulated that in the future, human beings will not need to do any physical work. And we are almost getting into it. Everything now is becoming automatic. When I started job in 1974, we have a telephone operator. And with some wires.
Yes.
But today, that is gone. Every office had a secretary. But today, the MD can do his work.
You know?
So, in as much as jobs are being taken away, jobs are also being created.
I see.
Yes. Somebody have to manage these machines. Somebody have to program these machines. Those are new jobs. Different from when it is manual.
Okay. So postal services are often described, you know, as tools for social inclusion. Would you say your community still feels connected through them? There's still connection. You know, you mentioned you're going to check, you know, what's it called? The spot where you used to have the
post
box. The post box, yeah. You're going to so. Is that connection still there?
No. That connection is not there.
So what's this missing link?
The missing link is the physical appearance. The physical connection. The postman is coming, you expect the paper. Some areas, the postman comes at 9. In some areas, they come at 10, 12. Some twice a day. But today, you got it within a minute. You don't expect it. It's there, and you can get it at any time. Okay.
While we try to wrap up, I want you to just say in few words, what do you think could be done to ensure better sustainability for postal services? We know they are still there. You know, it's still there, it still exists. But of course, the world is changing, things are changing. What do we need to do? As a government, as individuals, what should be done to ensure sustainability and, of course, to make it better?
It's perfection. It has to be perfected and improved upon with technology also. We know we all have postal codes. Every area has a postcode. And that is not being used. And it's easy. It helps in finding people, their addresses, their areas, and it's in sorting. More technology should be provided in sorting, so that letters meant for Jerusalem is not found in France.
That's okay. Okay, that's very key. So that letters meant for Jerusalem will not be found.
You know where I got that from?
I think I can relate. Sometimes even at the airport, I think I need to bring this, you know, and you're looking for your luggage and you're like, I mean, you find it's on another flight.
Yes, that's
you know,
so the tag is what it's used to sort it. And that is how the postcode is used to sort letters.
I see. So but I'd like to even add this before we go, yeah? We're wrapping up already. So because of what we just talked about now, do you think even the current means of posting and all of that, would you say there are more challenges or there are more benefits? Yeah, we are not spotlighting challenges. We are not key at pushing out challenges. But of course, when there are need to address them, we need to speak to them. So what do you think about this means of posting? Challenges, opportunities, and all of that put together.
Again, it comes to perfection. You see, what is perfected? Look at, I don't know if I can, there are some postal services.
No.
International. You can have a letter here and needs to be originally signed by somebody. Go to the post office or any postal agency. You pay for it. It goes to the place, to the person, wherever in the world the person is. The person signs and send it back. Maybe through the same means. But the original document gets here. So we need to perfect it in such a way that reduces the time. If I have a document and I can post it now and by tomorrow it's back with me.
Okay.
So it needs to be perfected, it needs to be improved on the technology of which either by plane, by vehicle, and by all this.
And all of that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Fashanu. Simeon Abayomi Fashanu. Yes. So, I mean, I would have loved us to take a few more questions, but our time is up, and that's all we can take for today. We just wanted to also have an input as the world celebrates World Post Day. And that's it on our cross-border today. I want to say a very big thank you for coming. When we do have other related topics, we'll be reaching out, and we hope that you will oblige us. All right, until next time, we see you again on our Cross Borders. My name is Grace Komolafe. Do not forget to follow us via all our social media platforms at Souk News TV. Just Africa comes up in a bit. Please stay with us.
Once upon a time, letters took weeks to travel across borders. Today, air transport makes it possible to send parcel from Lagos to London overnight. But behind the speed lies a powerful partnership between the aviation and the postal service. The aviation sector is the engine that drives modern postal logistics. Every day, thousands of letters, parcels, express packages fly on cargo planes and passengers' aircraft belly. But it's not all smooth. Postal systems, especially in developing countries, face big challenges. Poor infrastructure, customs delay, and limited air connectivity. To survive, they had to improvise. Some now partner with private airlines and logistics startups. Others are exploring drone deliveries for rural areas. We have moved past traditional mail to air-driven logistics. Aviation gives us speed, reach, and reliability, but it also demands innovation. And the numbers tell a business story. With the rise of e-commerce, global air cargo demand is soaring. Postal agencies that adapt quickly using aviation for express and last-mile delivery stand to gain billions in revenue. So the next time you send a package across the country, think the route, aircraft schedules, and airport handling that make the delivery possible. Aviation isn't just about passengers anymore. It's the silent backbone of postal logistics growth. In the skies above us, a new kind of airmail is thriving faster, smarter, driven by technology. Aviation is giving postal industry a second wind, turning old challenges into new business opportunities. You're watching Across Border, and I am Alice Patrick. Stay tuned for more insights.
Wale Soyinka, born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of art. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both traditional African culture and Western education. His father, Samuel Ayodele Soyinka, was a school headmaster, while his mother, Grace Eniola Soyinka, was a devoted Anglican. This blend of indigenous and colonial influences deeply shaped Soyinka's world. Soyinka attended Government College Ibadan and later proceeded to the University College Ibadan, where he studied English and literature. Soyinka completed his education at the University of Leeds in England, earning a degree in English and later a doctorate degree. In the late 1950s, Soyinka began working as a dramaturgist at the Royal Court Theatre in London. However, his passion for storytelling and cultural preservation drew him back to Nigeria, where he founded two theatre groups known as the 1960 Masks and the Orisun Theatre Company. Soyinka's works, often a fusion of Western dramatic techniques and African themes, address universal issues of justice, freedom, and human dignity. His early play, titled A Dance of the Forest, which was introduced in 1960, written to celebrate Nigeria's independence, critically examined the nation's socio-political trajectory, setting the tone for his career as both artist and activist. Soyinka's activism became more visible during Nigeria's post-independence years. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he called for a ceasefire between federal forces and Biafran separatists. This led to his arrest by the military government, and he spent 22 months in prison, where he wrote a short drama titled The Man Died, Prison Notes, a harrowing account of his imprisonment and a profound critique of authoritarianism. Soyinka has authored more than 20 works, including plays, novels, poetry, and essays. In 1986, Soyinka became the first African to win the Nobel Prize of Literature, an achievement that brought global recognition to African literature. Soyinka remained an outspoken critic of oppressive regimes, often at great personal risk. His activism extended beyond Nigeria, addressing global issues of injustice and human rights. During periods of military rule in Nigeria, he went into exile, continuing to write and speak against tyranny.